Very exciting for everyone, I'm sure. Okay, there, we've got one person started. Fraggle on the ball today.
Ready as expected.
I did try to give them ample warning, but Fraggle's coming up with a bit of a lead at the start.
Yeah, we've got a Gao and a Sabin start. Paused, everyone. There we go.
Minor technical issue. Apparently, if you minimize VLC, it just stops showing things. Apologies for that. But now we can actually see what the racers are doing, and, that's good.
Well, so far, we've got Fals checking out the treasures in Narsh, and there was a Minerva and a red cap in there. Nice stuff. We've got Zelfer looting the treasures in the Returner's hideout. There's a hero ring, great accessory.
Fraggle doing the standard go to South Figaro immediately move.
And Boo looking around in Albrook.
And we've got Sabin and Gao. Sabin's a nice character. Real useful at the start of the game. Excellent checks. Gao is usually not great.
It entirely depends on which rages he has access to, Mr. Entity.
Yes.
Once we see what those are, we can determine if Gao is a good character or a bad one.
There are, I think, 255 rages, and there's only a couple dozen useful ones, so chances of Gao being good aren't fantastic, but when he is good, he's ridiculously good.
Exactly. And nothing wrong starting out with Sabin. Sabin has 5 checks. He's one of 4 characters that has that dubious honor. Combat-wise, he's probably the least useful of the 4, but gives you lots of options early on.
It's nice to start out with that pummel right away. It is more than you're going to be swinging for. And his checks are also generally pretty quick. Probably going to see Fals here going to Zen
Yeah,
in
Fal's
the world
definitely
of
doing
Ruin.
that. Yeah,
As that is the free Sabin check. Oh, there was an Atlas Hamlet in South Figaro too, and 2 of our runners, like, frame perfect.
Frame for frame, looting South Figaro is Boo and Zelfer. This is not, a visual glitch here.
Oh, okay,
As
no,
you
that
just
finally
saw
stopped,
from
yeah.
the slightly different movement from Boo, that was quite amusing.
Yeah, that is not common, particularly not for that long. So we're gonna see what's in the basement as Fals goes into Zen and sees what the Forest Man has. 951 GP might be the lowest I've seen, but he's still too poor.
I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, Mr. Entity. He must have something to sell right
There are
now.
Atlas amulets for sale in that shop. That's
Yeah,
very
very,
nice.
very useful for sure. He's going to look at what he has. Metal Knuckle, not quite going to do it. That Ether probably would. Or that X
The
Potion
X
will cover the
Potion
bill.
is the move. Zelfer found dried meat already.
Yeah,
And some warp stones.
So
Those are
Boo's going to
very
be right
useful.
behind him and find that same shop with the dried meat and the warp stones. Warp stones, very useful in this
I
randomizer.
unfortunately did not see what Fals just got. But I'm going to guess it wasn't an Esper since he didn't immediately check what it was.
It was an Esper, Mr. Entity.
Ah, interesting. Just putting it off for a bit, I guess. 8k gold there.
Well, I think Fals is making the smart play here in terms of waiting until he's done looting and gathering to open up his menu to equip his characters. Do it all in one fell swoop instead of, I found this nice thing, I'm going to open my menu right now. You got to try to minimize those menu opens, because every time you open and close that menu, you're losing about 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned to do recently, is just, especially going through South Figaro, don't even open your equip screen until you're gone out of there.
Yeah, you have to resist the urge to do that when you see something very, very nice that you want to put on right away. But the thing is, until you're actually getting into combat, you don't need to equip your characters.
That is correct. Fraggle apparently going to Zen in the world of balance. Interesting choice. Maybe just not thinking ahead there. And Fal's got remove, apparently. Thank you.
From
Yep.
the burning house, or collapsing house rather, got a pair of tiger fangs. So,
when you're starting with Sabin, that's a reasonable thing. A Genji shield just found in the basement for Zelfer.
yeah. Tiger Fangs for Sabin, and Doom Darts for Gao, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, a gold hairpin also in the basement. Personally, I generally consider that to be money.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of people think it's really useful, and it is. Particularly at the start. If you, like, start with Ultimo or something really expensive, you're not going to have the MPs to cast that for quite a while.
You're going to need to be a level in the mid-teens to be able to afford
Ooh, a
those
Dragon
kind of
Horn for
spells.
Fraggle. That is one of the least thought about relics that is amazing.
It's a primo relic for sure. It requires other stuff to go along with it though. Whereas with something like
Well, there's the Dragoon Boots immediately.
yeah, there they are.
That's essentially an offering setup. Except less damage reduction.
Well, it will get better. All Fraggle needs to do is find a spear and a character that can use them. But in the meantime, without a spear,
It's still 2 times damage.
it's still at least 2 times damage, sometimes upwards of 4. Dragon Horn is pretty great whenever you can combine it with those boots.
Oh no, I meant there's still a multiplier for jumping even if you don't have a spear.
Is there?
Yes, and it also applies to the proc from a spell if it comes off.
Yes, it does. That I did know.
Yes, there was a discussion in the Discord a little while ago about that, and it might be one reason people don't think about the Dragon Horn so much. Rexol!
Well, we're looking at some of the rages there. You do have Tyrannosaur, which is Meteor, a pretty powerful spell overall.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's ideal for this fight.
Rexol is not the nicest boss to find this early on there.
No, especially when you don't have reliable, targetable damage. That is the main downside of doing this. Zelfer apparently trying to get Gao's dried meat check out of the way.
And why not? The earlier you do it, the least amount of enemies. If you haven't fought any battles, it's just going to be this single logo as you're seeing here.
Yeah, and he is making the classic mistake of actually using Gao to kill it, though. That can sometimes lead to Gao then killing the person, or, you know, the thing that's going to give
The thing
you
that
the
shows up, yeah, it can happen, but I think the idea here is that Sabin's going to have a full ATB gauge, so it should work.
Yeah,
Just
he's having
needs
some
to.
rough luck there.
Yeah, it's I believe 5 and 8 odds for the character, Esper, item, whatever to show up after a battle in the belt. So failing twice in a row is not ideal.
Fraggle's got his own dried meat now. And Boo was checking out
Who's heading
Nikia.
to Moblis?
Apparently likes shopping.
Nothing wrong with shopping if you got the money for it. Find some nice
Valid
gear,
strap.
some rods
and
perhaps.
Zelfer is going to get Phoenix.
Well, Boo found Super Balls and picks a couple of those up to try to help things out here. And,
light free and
Fouls.
quick on that Esper. Pretty nice.
Quick especially is very useful. Fouls, clutch victory over Rexol at Barren Falls there with only Sabin left alive. Bit of a long cutscene here. One of the longer ones still remaining in the randomizer, but Fouls is going to get rewarded here momentarily. Boo now having a look at the shops in Thameza. Zelfer has gone to Tizen World of Ruin to have a look inside the collapsing house.
Yeah, and we're
It's just going to be a
see...
Tiger Fangs, unfortunately for Zelfer, but...
and Fouls has found his first character. It's Setzer. 2 very decent checks on him.
Well, there's 2 really quick ones and 1 short dungeon for Setzer. Not bad at all. Boo's found his meat, so he's heading over to the Veld. Zelfer inside the burning house going to be probably a little disappointed with those Tiger Fangs, but will probably be happy to buy that Rambu Esper for less than 1,000 gil afterward. We've got...
Did he remove his Moogle Charm? Or forget to put one on?
I am...
Oh, wait, he
away.
just did the Gao check. He probably forgot to reapply it.
Exactly. That
Which is a
most
danger.
likely, yeah. We've got Fraggle inside Imperial Camp here. Fraggle wisely ignoring the very long treasure chest where you have to pretend to be a cat and hide behind it or fight a battle.
I've seen you get that before, and I was never sure why.
That was in the Router's Relish race.
Ah, yes, when you knew what it was.
Yeah, it was an ice shield. You're going to pick up an ice shield. That's
Yeah.
That was a guaranteed 6,000 damage on the boss inside of the very same Imperial Camp.
Steroid 8, not a super nice thing to find, but it's dealable.
Yeah, level is still low on it. It's still probably going to have a solid 2,000 to 3,000 HP. Gao's Meteor can chew through that. That Cold Dust not helping Fraggle's cause here.
But he does have the Dragon Horn set up, so... With a Thief Knife, apparently.
Yeah, couldn't rob the Sterodite, but got a solid 600 damage in there.
Val's getting a solid lead on characters with the Mog find.
Yeah, 4 characters for Fowls now. As you were saying, Entity, some of Setzer's checks are really quick, so all you got to do is go to Kalingin and you can pick up another character.
Yeah, and the ability to find Doomgaze immediately is also nice, assuming you're confident in your levels, etc. Ice shields for sale there in that town.
Yeah, inside Kalingin, elemental shields are usually expensive and tend to be prioritized for their defensive value, but you can break them for an absolute truckload of damage if need be.
Very much so, yes. So we got a couple people checking out Zen. Zelfer just found his Tiger Fangs and equipped them, obviously. Val's taking the time to rename Mog to Dumpst. I take it he's not a fan.
Dumpst the Moogle. Well done, Fowls. Boo now inside the collapsing house. Zelfer all done with Zen, having picked up the Tiger Fangs and the Ramu
Westford. To the Imperial camp.
So Zelfer will be fighting...
Another person has forgotten to replace their Moogle chair.
Indeed. Not a costly mistake. Thankfully, the encounters are not difficult inside of that collapsing house. Just Grease Monkeys and Rhodoxes.
Val's apparently going to Figaro. 100% sure why on that. I guess just to check some chops and loot it.
Val's maybe thinking that Sabin gets the discount. There is special dialogue for it,
but you don't
only
actually get
Edgar gets the actual discount.
Yes.
Mega Elixirs for sale if you're drowning in money. They are the best consumable for sure.
Absolutely, and it's always nice to have one.
Yeah.
Just because when that Fallen one comes out at the end of the game, it's nice to be able to immediately come back from it.
Exactly.
Some Bolt 3 coming out on Zelfer. I guess he found a slightly more useful rage than the Meteor.
Yeah, a level 3 spell is going to do more damage than the Meteor. Bolt 3, I don't recall seeing one such monster in the list, but Gao usually starts with more than 8 rages, so it might have just been off-screen from that first selection Tyrannosaur.
And a heal
rod.
Hopefully they find Shadow so that he can kill himself with it.
Exactly.
And the Ghost Train on Fraggle has a Magicite.
Yeah, Magicite Starlight for Fraggle.
See that check through. Ooh, finishing up the Tiger Fangs.
Should at least try to see it through, so that's 2 Espers for Fraggle now.
Not sure what Fowls is doing down there, wandering around outside the Figaro environs. Might have a plan.
Nope,
probably just forgot where he parked.
Yeah, exactly. Gooding to figure on the World of Balance. There's 2 optimal places to park the airship, but if you don't remember where you parked it, it can be a little bit of a chore to find it.
Yes.
So Fowls is now going to be looting South Figaro, as we saw Zelfer and Boo do about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, while Fraggle deals with some misfits into Behemoth on the train. Not a super nice fight.
Well, the Misfits are vulnerable to Phoenix Downs and or Revivifies if you have access to those. Maybe Fraggle doesn't, but wisely using Sabin's Orbolt, which those undead enemies are weak to.
Indeed.
And here comes the Meteor.
Here comes the jump on Zelfer.
Yeah, so Zelfer will be fighting Rexel momentarily here. It's going to be a stronger Rexel than the one that Dark Fowls defeated, but... as long as Zelfer can pull this off, he's going to get Setzer and be well on his way.
Taking the reset.
No, just immediately saying, no, I do not want this. And unfortunately for Zelfer, we know that leads to a character, which leads to another character immediately.
Yeah, progress might actually be locked behind that check.
It certainly could be.
Fowls found his meat.
We've seen just about every Sabin check so far, and while Barren Falls has a character, the only other Sabin check left that could have a character is Mount Colts.
Yes, so and the only other options are Kefka at Narsh
yes.
and the Serpent Trench.
Which Zelfer is going to be doing right now.
Boo taking a wipe there, unfortunately. Fraggle just loading up on Phoenix Downs.
It's never a bad
and
idea.
Fighting a ghost. Maybe just hoping for more behemoths for levels.
Well, maybe not the encounter he wanted, but there's a couple undead enemies in there, so those Phoenix Downs are going to go to use on those. It's just a matter of taking out the other enemies.
Oh, he's been made into an imp, though. And we've got the Serpent Trench on Zelfer.
What kind of encounters do we have in here? Well,
ghosts, not too worrying, but they
ghosts.
do have access to spells, and at the start of the game, even a fire can do a lot of damage to you.
It's really their Elfire spell that's the danger. Elfire is like a level 2.5 spell, I believe. But he has Meteo, so who cares? Those are some dead ghosts.
Yes, he probably also has, maybe not yet. He might have Fire Dance at this point. We're seeing the returners being looted by Boo.
Yeah, gonna pick up another red cap and now a hero ring.
Nice stuff. Apparently taking the Drulith school of this game, where you just go loot everything at the start.
I can see the logic behind it. You want to try to make yourself as powerful as possible early on so that you're able to surmount whatever obstacles might be in your way. The flip side of that, of course, is that there are a lot of weak bosses in this game. That even level 3 babies with just the basic mithril knives could defeat just by attacking and using a couple items.
Yeah, you just gotta weigh the time of doing the checks and maybe taking a reset versus going and getting some gear, which will get you through a lot of issues.
Certainly, right you are. Well, Zelfer got the first treasure inside of Serpent Trench and is electing to go into the second cave as well. Much longer romp for one chest.
Yes. I will usually get the first one, but second one's a bit more of a slog for one random chest.
Yeah.
Unless it actually is a random chest, because when chests are completely random, they tend to have overall better stuff in them.
Absolutely. We are not playing with those settings,
No,
though.
we have shuffled chests with 20% random, as is the standard setting for this randomizer currently. I'm sure once we see another update from Atma, something will have changed and the settings will get tweaked yet again.
Exactly. Foul's now starting his dive through the Serpent Trench.
Mm-hmm.
And Boo looking to take another shot at the Imperial camp in that steroidite here.
Fraggle apparently running one of his characters away.
Gao is an imp. I guess Fraggle had no access to remedies or green cherries, so...
Yes, but you could have left him in there. I mean, the experience is not split between characters.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no real benefit to having him run away.
Well, the benefit is that if this behemoth were to defeat Sabin and Gao, that would be a game over. But now he can still keep going if he loses to the behemoth.
And we're about to see Zelfer's Nicaea get.
Yep. Boo versus the steroidite.
Throwing a super
Immediately throwing super balls.
And
gets a gigantic roll. And that steroidite is gone. Strago recruited for Zelfer.
Yeah,
that's his third character.
It is not a seed locked behind
It's not
Rexol.
It's not locked behind Rexol, but Rexol does lead you to Setzer and an easy fourth character at the very least.
Indeed.
Arrow
on Strago, so he's more useful than he usually is.
Yeah, that's a pretty good spell to have handy there. And Foul's here, more than halfway through the trench now, is going to be at 5 characters. So the seed definitely opening up for Foul's here.
Yeah, he just needs to well, I guess he's got as many espers as anyone else does, so yeah, he's had pretty good luck with his check choices, and
certainly,
getting through that Rexol, etc.
Well,
Fraggle finally moving on through the train.
Speaking of Rexol, we've got Boo battling against Rexol now, and Boo also electing to use the Tyrannosaur Rage, and good choice here, because while there is a Bolt 3 Rage, Rexol absorbs lightning, so that would be a poor choice indeed.
Does he absorb light?
He certainly does.
Okay, yeah, sorry. The colors just seemed a little odd for a moment. I am not good with colors.
I know that.
Yes. So, we have Fraggle fighting his ghost. Obviously, the one blocking the path is a known entity, having spent all that time fighting ghosts previously.
Not necessarily a bad choice. It's, depending on the battles, a quick way to get some early experience, build up some levels, and overpower a lot of the early bosses before you really start to find some amazing gear and/or spells.
Yes, and I suppose checking against the first ghost you come across to see what that fight might be could be useful knowledge.
It's at least a bit of scouting ahead. Nothing wrong with that. So
Val's
Boo
picking up Strago, Boo about to
get Setzer.
Setzer.
Yep.
And presumably immediately go to Kalingen.
Yeah. Zelfer heading to Thameza with Strago in tow. So I think we're going to be seeing a burning house momentarily for Zelfer.
It's always interesting to me how people pronounce the words in this game, because there is no pronunciation guide. I would call it Tamasa.
Yeah, but I would say Thameza.
Yes.
And
Some people say like T-Zen, for example, instead of Zen.
yeah, it's Zen. That one we can agree on at least.
I'm not sure we can, because the apostrophe could indicate a glottal stop and just be T-Zen.
Well, there's no apostrophe in the name. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. But let's be
eating
honest.
some food.
The one thing that absolutely no one can agree on in this game, even though it is Sellies, I've heard so many different pronunciations of that name in my life. They're all wrong, mind you.
No,
but no one agrees.
It's totally Celeste.
No, it's Sellies.
I don't agree. But moving on to a less stupid conversation. We've got Boo about to enter the ghost train while Fraggle approaches the front. Zelfer going into the burning house, making use of Strago for his checks.
And
Fowls has some fixed dice from that chest that we were saying maybe it's not worth the time.
Yeah, took a chance on it. There's some fixed dice in there. I'm sure a lot of you folks familiar with the community know that I'm not a fan, but those can certainly come in very clutch if you're a little on the lucky side.
I think they're a fine item. I think they're just overused. Much like I don't enjoy using super balls, I find them a bit too random, and mixing the fixed dice with the offering does tend to take a while on the animation side. But early on, even kinda into the mid-game, they can crap out a lot of damage faster than you could with any other real method. Haydn and the Haydnites, the great band from the 40s, fighting Fraggle, the music critic.
And Fraggle is simply going to say, your music sucks, go back to heaven, that is where you belong.
And good for him on picking up all those Phoenix Downs earlier when he was fighting those misfits. Because that is just a free fight at that point.
Yeah, so Fraggle officially has collected the Starlit Esper.
Indeed. And quite a few levels on the way as well.
Yeah, Boo also inside the Phantom Train and fighting those fairly desirable Ingen Behemoth packs. Lots of experience to be gained from those. Dark Fowls battling the steroid dite inside of the Imperial camp.
Oh, and Fraggle about to take the plunge off of the waterfall. Think he's a little better set up to fight Rexall than some other runners have been.
Oh, absolutely. Rexall is still not going to be a very high level for Fraggle because he's only picked up the one Esper so far, but he has a huge numerical advantage level-wise.
So Rexall will be approximately level 6 plus or minus a couple levels.
Yeah, and with his accelerated levels in that Tyrannosaur rage, Meteor is potentially a one-hit kill here, I dare say, Mr. Entity.
Plus, he has that Dragon Horn Sabin setup, which is always useful.
Well, here comes the Meteor. Let's see the damage numbers.
1,200.
Yeah, well over 1,000.
Not bad. Not seemingly enough to take Rexall out. Just enough to make Fraggle sit through the little dudes going away and coming back. 540 just on that Thief Knife jump also. Double hit on Rexall. Still not quite dead.
It's only a matter of time. I don't see a situation in which Fraggle is going to lose this fight. Electing to do the other Meteor spell with Sabin that he picked up on his Esper.
Not a terrible choice. Dragonhorn can just kind of land wherever it wants, aside from the first hit, so...
Yeah, the damage is a little more focused right now since he's only jumping with a Thief Knife in tow.
Yes.
Meteor, not necessarily the greatest spell overall, though. It has a pretty low spell power, but
it does ignore defense.
Exactly. It ignores defense and evasion, which can be extremely useful.
And I don't think necessarily the casting time is going to cost him much relative to the time it takes to jump.
Well,
or wait for Gau to actually target Rexel.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the burning house here, Zelfer finds Narapa. This is basically a gimme. Narapa, not much of a threat at all.
As long as you remember not to cast spells at it, you'll be fine, pretty much. And Fraggle taking out Rexel there, of course, as Boo takes out Hyden and the Hydenites.
And Zelfer probably putting the finishing touches on Narapa here, forgetting that the boss is immune to wind though, but that's understandable. Narapa is not a boss you really need to worry about vulnerabilities and the like on. It's really low on the hit point side.
Yes, the only real danger of Narapa is in vanilla, when the timer
you're on a timer.
matters.
Yeah.
And the first time you fight it, you may not realize it's auto-reflected, which can be problematic. Zelfer going to pick up a character here, and it's Celeste. Definitely not Sellies.
No, it's
Or
Sellies.
Cells.
It's Sellies.
No, I don't think it is.
It's celery.
Okay, so Zelfer picking up celery as Boo makes the first stab at Mount Colts.
And why not take a try on it?
Skipping the chests, interestingly, for a man who decided that getting all the chests at the start was super important.
Well, the chests on Mount Colts are pretty out of the way, although he is electing to go out of the way to get this vanilla tent chest, and gets rewarded with
a cotton robe.
A little less desirable than a tent, I have to say, Mr. Entity.
Just a touch. Fraggle doing the collision check, obviously, having gained Setzer.
Yeah, and gonna be happy to see Mog for character number 4. No one's gone and done Lone Wolf yet, so it'll be interesting to see if that's where Fraggle heads next. Boo electing not to touch the save point on Mount Colts, and Zelfer, of course, heading immediately back to South Figaro for that free check with Sellies and
the standard play.
And I have to say, what would be a really bold but probably profitable move here would be to go right to Magitech after this. There's 3 checks in there. 4 bosses, but 3 checks.
Well, Zelfer does have 4 characters now, so it's not as worrisome to go in there once you have a full party. Picking up Alexander there from the Celeste check.
And Boo running into a fairly nasty boss here at the top of Mount
Alexander
Colts.
has Ultima on it. At one times gain, but it's Ultima.
It's the best attack spell in the entire game, bar none.
And it's Jack the Sabin.
Jack the Sabin, Fraggle being super consistent with himself here.
Boo taking out Goddess pretty quickly.
And now it's gonna be Mr. E the Mog. Look at that. Fraggle showing some concern for his commentators.
And Gau getting named Trash. That's appropriate.
That's a little harsh.
It's a little harsh in this seed where Gau has gotten him through behemoth checks and stuff.
Well, Gau has 2 entirely acceptable rages this go around. He's not a bad character in this seed.
Indeed. So we're seeing an Opera House check from Zelfer. A good place to get a few levels often, although it can be deadly with the randomized fixed encounters.
It certainly can be, but something that a few runners have noticed is that a lot of those fixed encounters in here, for whatever reason, and I know overall it's a small sample size in terms of races, but they usually end up being those Daedalus enemies from Kefka's Tower, which are instantly killable with a Revivify, Phoenix Down, or Life spell, and yield tons of experience points for the effort.
I've only found them here once myself, and that was last night, so I can't super comment. Oh, Boo has an Excalibur. Let's hope he finds not Shadow, because now you can't throw it. Fraggle taking a pass at Narsh. Maybe we'll see what's behind Kefka at Narsh and the Lone Wolf check. Both options that have not come up so far.
Well, Fraggle does have Mog in tow, as we've noted, so definitely going to be doing the Lone Wolf check, I dare say, and in the process of doing that, you get to see what's behind Umaro and at least get an idea of what's available at Kefka and Narsh.
Yep.
Hiding in the Hide Knights for Dark Fowls, and it's gone.
And a Gigantos for Fraggle,
Fraggle,
which has one of, if not the highest experience per level of any enemy in the game.
It's one of the most profitable enemies experience-wise. The item, should Fraggle win, is just going to be a hardened dagger. Nothing special at all, but those experience points could be massive, especially since it's not split between 4 characters.
Boo apparently also taking a pass at Narsh here.
And why not?
And
It's a free check, even though it does take a little while to
so
walk
that
through the
Ramu
mines.
Esper has just Remedy on it, which is not fantastic, but it can be useful at the end of the game.
It could help you out in a pinch, I suppose, but it's definitely not one of the primo spells. In the
Epilepsy
randomizer.
warning for fouls.
Fowls had one too many before the race, apparently. Luckily, the dude on the airship has a nice little hangover here.
Also opting to open that monster in a box. I don't know about you, but I generally don't.
I usually avoid monster in a boxes myself unless I find either a...
Unless you're trying to get an offering.
That's basically it. Yeah, if you find a Valiant Knife really early, maybe it's not the worst idea to try to fish for Katana Soul to get an offering. Beyond that, though, I'm not really sure.
I don't find the rewards to be particularly much of anything, and you might run into pugs or like other things that will just ruin your day.
Well, pugs aren't bad if you have access to.
Minerva.
Yeah. Fraggle finally looting the Narsh treasure room.
I had forgotten that was there.
Yeah.
That's a very nice find.
Yeah, Minerva, probably the single best piece of body gear in the game. Some people will
Oh, he's
swear
got 2
by,
of them.
2 Minervas.
Well, Sabin's already wearing one.
Well,
And
nothing
then
wrong with that.
couldn't find anything else to put on other people. I am apparently just naked with a sword and a shield.
You certainly are, Mr. Entity.
Chatternook in the Opera House. An often annoying fight, but I think Zelfer's got the levels to take it out. It might just take a bit.
Oh yeah, certainly. Still electing to go with that Meteo from Tyrannosaur, and another good choice here because Chatternook is another one of those bosses that does in fact absorb lightning from that Bolt 3 rage. That would be a poor choice indeed.
Mm-hmm. Dark Fowls also picking up the cotton robe seems to be a popular choice today, and in the clock for Boo is an X potion.
Well, it's a nice little fashion statement.
The X potion?
Yes, exactly.
Throwables there, and a Rising Sun, which is a weapon I keep forgetting exists.
It's an entirely forgettable weapon. It's not great at all.
No.
The Blizzard Sword could potentially be an interesting pickup, but most of our runners have already defeated Rexel, which is probably where that weapon shines the most, I would say. It's either that or against the Flame Eater.
Yeah, the only other thing I can say about the Blizzard is that it does up your magic power. No character apparently behind the Umaro check, as we can see from Fraggle's screen.
Yeah, no one showing up in that little hole in
Fowls
the wall.
getting to Goddess now probably won't be much of a problem, although it is a much higher level than it was for Abu.
Definitely is going to be a higher level, but well, a couple of humans being sent to sleep not going to help cause there.
Edgar is stealing Celeste for Zelfer. That's a very nice find as a character, but he's already got. He had 4 already, so
Yeah, that's his 5th.
Just opting not to level Edgar up. Happy with the party he's got.
Well, I understand that decision, Mr. Entity. I mean, he's sitting at a party of Sabin, Celes, Gao, and I believe
and
Fraggle.
Fraggle finding Shadow.
Fraggle finding Shadow. Shadow, one of the primo characters in the randomizer, right up there with Celes and Cyan on that tier very slightly below Terra.
Indeed. Oh, and he has to make the dire choice between saving one of the best characters in the game or an Ice Rod, which you can just buy.
I don't know, that Ice Rod, you know, it could be anything.
It could even be an Ice Rod.
I know, right? And
electing to remove trash from his party, perhaps. Thinking about it, decided to go with it. Probably long-term, not a bad choice.
yeah.
Boo also picking up Shadow now, while Fowls is clearly having some difficulty with that Goddess fight.
And no one can blame him, really. Goddess is probably the nastiest of the 3 statue bosses, I would say.
Zelfer taking... I did not see him go to Figaro. Apparently he's just going for the longer checks for Edgar.
Yeah, it's going to be Sabin carrying the day for Fowls here. Sabin with that Minerva on is going to be immune to those bolt spells, but here comes Overcast. This is going to put a ticking time bomb on this fight for Dark Fowls. Going to have about 19 seconds. Oh no, it's a very high counter, 63.
Yeah.
So still lots of time for Fowls to finish this up or get some Phoenix Downs off or the like.
Slightly different strategies for Boo and Fraggle now. Fraggle opting to get rid of Gao while Boo has elected to leave Shadow behind.
Yeah, both of them having a look at the Kefka at Marsh area though.
Yeah, while Zelfer finds a soldier, so not a character in the World of Ruin Figaro check.
However, there's still 2 other Edgar checks remaining for Zelfer once, ideally, he clears out this boss inside the engine room here.
And he's probably more concerned about getting Espers at the moment either way.
Yeah, sitting at 5
Ghost Train for
characters.
Boo, that's a free check, while Fowls finally takes out Goddess with his unkillable Sabin.
That
And a chainsaw for Zelfer. Nice find immediately after getting Edgar and then deciding not to use it.
yeah, exactly. Fowls, I wouldn't say was invincible. If that timer ran out, that was it. That was, all she wrote and Bob's your uncle and all that. But Fowl's able to get it done and completes the check and gets Crusader match site.
Fraggle electing to fight some of the soldiers.
Well, we have Ultros 4 for
And
Zelfer.
the Phantom Train yields Phantom the Esper. Who would have thought I did that? I am good at public speaking.
What?
Yeah, no, we're professionals. So Chupon and Ultros in the tentacle room. Another person, Fowls, running up to check Narsh. So I'm thinking, based on the checks we've seen, it might be people are going to have to do some of the Floating Continent or the Magitech pack.
Well, I personally have no problem with doing either of those places. There's 3 possible locations for stuff there.
Another person fighting the monster in a box.
Well, it is that Giganto that is worth a ton of experience point. Dead check for Zelfer, unfortunately, in the engine room. Defeats Ultros and Chupon and only gets a Genji shield, so...
And Fowl's resetting out of that Gigantos after one-shotted 2 of his party members.
Yeah, the Giganto does have very high physical attacks, and Fowls has done enough checks, character and Esper-wise, for it to be somewhat lethal.
So, Fraggle about to fight the Ghost Train, a task for which he is highly prepared.
I sincerely hope that I am about to suplex a train, Mr. Entity.
Yes, if you do not, then frankly, Fraggle just loses the race.
Oh, he's going to do it! Yes! Yes! Oh man, that was amazing! That was amazing.
Instantly wins the race.
Fraggle is, if not the victor in actuality, at the very least in our hearts.
Yes, he wins all the style points in the world.
Well, Zelfer checking the throne in Figaro, and hey, it's a lock. That's 6 characters for Zelfer now.
And a couple free checks.
Locke only has 3 checks, but 2 of his are very, very quick. One does involve a boss fight.
One is a boss fight, but a very quick dungeon. One is just 10 seconds, and also you get a cursed shield. And the other one is a bit long, but it's free unless
Yeah.
you want to fight the very easy dragon for its very high rewards.
Yeah, exactly. Well, potentially very easy dragon.
It's not a dirt dragon.
When the dragons aren't scaled, it's really only dirt or storm dragons that you have to be particularly worried about. If they weren't
Indeed.
scaled, most of the dragons could potentially be a threat to an underleveled party trying to sneak through the Phoenix Cave.
And we're seeing Boo take the first pass of the group at Daryl's tomb.
Daryl.
Daryl?
Daryl.
That's not how you spell Daryl.
It's Daryl.
Oh,
It's Daryl.
why do you think it's Daryl?
Because I've always pronounced it Daryl. It's the same argument we've had about so many other pronunciations.
Yeah, but you're
related to
claiming
this
it's a
game.
specific thing. Anyway, we're seeing the ancient castle check on Zelfer at the moment. Yeah, just continuing through Daryl's tomb there.
Oh, Aegis shield
Shurikens
for
for
Zelfer.
Fraggle. All the shurikens in the
Oh
world.
no, shurikens! Oh man, yeah, we're so happy we have shurikens. Shurikens.
Shurikens are really good if you have Shadow for most of the game.
Shurikens.
They're essentially free.
They're essentially free, yes, but shurikens are what you use against fodder enemies. Generally, you're not going to be fighting random battles in the randomizer. It's all bosses. That's where you just want to go, why would I throw the shuriken when I could throw one of these 10 useless weapons that I've found that have way higher battle power?
Well, I have very often sold all my useless weapons.
Well, I guess if there's something that you really want to buy in the seed, that is another potential thing. We've got
Boo at Daryl's tomb.
Narsh Kefka for Boo, so this is not going to be a difficult battle at all.
No.
Almost a one-hit kill from that Meteo, I dare say.
Almost a triple bar also.
Yeah, Triple Bar could have been very amusing for us as spectators, because there'd be a, 1 in 24 chance that would be a game over for Boo?
I'm not sure which espers are unavailable for that, but there is a definite chance of Crusader coming up and just wiping a party.
Exactly.
Not great chests for Zelfer here. Fraggle electing to go to the floating continent. Force armor though at the last minute for Zelfer. That's always nice to find. Apparently already had one, but free fight for Fraggle. He's running into all the undead enemies.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Selly's looking pretty good equipment-wise for Zelfer after having picked up that Aegis Shield. The Aegis Shield, red cap. Light Robe maybe a bit on the weaker side, but when the other two are good, you're fine.
And he finds Go-Go.
It's Go-Go for Zelfer, so that is character number 6 for Zelfer.
So he needs one more character still.
No, sorry, that's character number that's number 7 for Zelfer because he picked up Locke in the Figure of Throne Room. So Zelfer had 7 characters, but
then
only 2 espers.
Vamp a little bit behind on the tracking there. It is very difficult to track this game on your own though, so
It's
mistakes
all right.
will pop
No,
up.
it's fine.
No, it's super easy to watch 4 screens at the same time. Guardian in the sky! And a Skulldurgan for Zelfer, indeed electing to fight that dragon for its delicious, delicious rewards.
Yeah, definitely going at it and getting some good arrow magic off there on Strago. Arrow definitely has a nice amount of magic power behind it, and wind is not necessarily an element that you're going to find a lot of weaknesses to, but there is only a very small amount of enemies that null or absorb it. So
It's one of those uncommon elements that when you're playing through the game for the first time, you probably don't even really realize is an element.
Exactly. Like, outside of a couple of very obscure weapons for Locke and Shadow and Strago's arrow spell, you really don't get access to wind elemental attacks.
And Skulldurgan going down for Zelfer. Let us see what he gets.
Well, on top of probably about 20,000 experience points and 50 magic points, Skulldragon gives a crystal orb, I believe, normally. Muscle belt, sorry. And
a merit award. The worst reward.
I would say Heal Rod is worse because
Heal Rod
it
you
sells
can at
for
least
less.
throw.
You can at least throw, but Zelfer does not have Shadow yet, Mr. Entity.
He did also get Ultima from that, though, at 1%, which is a very good reason to fight a dragon. Those 50 MPs are so useful. Guardian going down for Boo.
Fraggle bringing another displayer back to life here on the way to the floating continent. So it's going to be boss fight number 1 for
And
Fraggle
an
here.
Esper for Boo from the Doomgaze check.
Yeah, it's Bahamut.
Bahamut.
So actually an Esper worth summoning for its damage on top of potentially having some good bonuses and spells.
Yes.
And Boo now going to
and
Cave
we
on Bell.
have a Rav Shadow on Fraggle.
Rav Shadow?
He named his Shadow Rav.
Good job, Fraggle. Fraggle knows what's going on here.
Yeah.
Well, it's Vargas and the
Oh.
Ipoos, the other mid-40s band.
Osmos on that Bahamut Esper for Boo, one of the most useful spells you can find.
It certainly has its uses, Mr. Entity, but I find that it's not a spell that you need to prioritize in the randomizer when elixirs are generally so plentiful. And speaking of elixirs, Boo just picking up one, just to prove me right.
Well, they're all over the place because people figured out that if you keep potions in your clock, they don't keep time so well, and they just throw them all over the place.
That's a bold play, Mr. Entity.
So, getting the Gale Cuts in the sky on Vargas. The castle coming out of the ground for Zelfer. We'll have to see where he opts to go next. I don't recall him doing Edgar's quick check.
Yes, he did. It was Locke sitting on.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. There's
And a poltergeist
Umaro.
in the sky on Fraggle.
Spicy Chicken making his first appearance of the night. We've got Umaro found for Boo, just has to defeat
Flying
this
Chocobos.
boss, Dadaluma. I don't think that's going to be a difficult battle for Boo, so Boo will be at 4 Espers and 6 characters after this. So this seed, so far, very generous with giving out characters, Mr. Entity. We've got 4 racers on entirely different paths right now,
Yep.
because the characters were very plentiful in some of the early checks there. There's no funnel here. Everyone going in completely different ways.
Fal's currently a bit of a lead in terms of Espers and such.
Well, I would
But,
say Espers are the big one here because characters are so plentiful. It's going to come down to who can find those Espers the fastest.
People are going to start finding extra characters in the near future.
Absolutely.
And the lock check yields Scrapham versus an Aegis Shield.
Well, Aegis Shield, very tempting, but an Esper is always progress.
Especially when you only have a couple of them.
Yeah.
And it has Flare on it, another useful spell, but again, like Ultima, pretty slow.
Well, unlike Ultima, Flare deals maybe like a third of the damage to only one target. Ultima infinitely better than Flare. And Flare, as you said, was slow. I'll have you know, Mr. Entity, that Flare is the slowest animation in the entire game.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Doesn't super surprise me. I mean,
See?
it was basically between Ultima, Pearl, and Flare.
Oh, no. Ultima and Pearl are about 7 and 8 seconds each. Flare is 12 seconds.
7
Flare
on that
is
Cursed
even
Shield.
longer than Kefka's Goner spell in terms of animation, if you can believe that.
7 battles only for that Cursed Shield. I did not see what Boo just got because I'm professional.
You most certainly are.
Ooh, magic +2 on that Esper.
Well, 7 battles is entirely doable here. What I would say is basically the midpoint of the race for all of our runners here.
So Siren Esper from that check for Boo. Fraggle having some real difficulty. But that Minerva on Sabin proving yet again that a fight can be done with just one Muscle Man.
Yeah, certainly can be done here for Fraggle, and I hope to God for both my sake and Fraggle's that Poltergeist doesn't bust out a highly undesirable stop spell, because that would ruin everything.
It certainly wouldn't help. Zelfer going to do the Tunnel Armor check, the first time we're seeing that.
Well, Zelfer, the only player in our race who has recruited Locke, and
it's
Edgar.
Baba. So, not a terrible fight with the levels he's got. He's got more than 1,000 health, so he doesn't have to worry too much about the 1,000 thing.
No,
Right.
the Blowfish.
Well, right.
Blowfish, yes.
1,000 needles is Final Fantasy V.
And, very prepared with Gao Rages and Zelfer. He busts out the bio there, hitting that weakness of Funbaba. Arrow doing solid damage from Strago, and Celes is about to cast Ultima here because, why not?
Poltergeist going down for Fraggle.
Very clutch victory for Fraggle over Poltergeist. Well done.
Super clutch when you've got one person who can't be damaged by all the spells that's being thrown at them.
Oh, he could have been taken out by a stray shrapnel spell.
And another Magicite on the floating continent.
Yeah, number 4 for Fraggle, it's Shiva.
Tent there, obviously. We're seeing Boo doing the Serpent Trench finally.
Yep, this is good news for Boo. That'll get him character number 6, which is going to be Strago.
An Aura Lance for me there, apparently. Hopefully, Fraggle's got that Dragon Horn and Dragoon both still sitting around so I can kick the crap out of everything.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see, Mr. Entity, what Fraggle elects to do with his party here.
Fire 3 on that Esper.
Some Espers around. Yeah, there's a level 3 spell. Quite nice to see, but level 3s, even though they're fast, don't really compare to the raw killing power of Ultima, unless you're hitting a weakness. So you really want all 3 of the level 3s if you're going to be playing the weakness game. Otherwise, Ultima, despite being a slower animation, is going to do a lot more damage. Like, Ultima, for me, is one of those very few moves in this game that I'm willing to sacrifice slow animation time for. And we've got triple pugs for Fraggle. Potential of getting a bunch of Minervas here.
Do they each drop separate Minervas?
They each have a chance to drop a Minerva. It's not a very high chance, but you could theoretically get 3 Minervas from this fight.
Interesting.
Yeah. One big thing Fraggle might be concerned with here, these Pube's physical attacks can hit very, very hard. So, not sure if it has access to an Invis Edge or a Shadow Edge for Shadow. That would guarantee victory here for sure, but...
one down already, the others will probably follow pretty shortly.
Yeah, the good news for Fraggle here is that these enemies are naturally a level in the 90s or something, so with scaling, they're not going to have that many hit points, as we see 2 of them defeated already.
Another Dragon Horn for Zelfer, assuming he found the first one. That's 2 Lancers that you could make, and just do a lot of damage pretty quickly.
Absolutely. The main issue there is the only player who's found a lance and making very good use of it with the Dragon Boots and Horn setup is Fraggle, having set up Mr. Entity to be the ultimate Dragoon right now.
That is what I'm known for.
I don't think that that's what I know you for, sir, but I will allow that to slide for now.
I also like slides.
Yes, that is, you know, what I know you for. We've known each other since we were 4, I believe.
Yep.
So slides were definitely where it was at.
Zelfer buying some Dragoon boots, clearly aiming for that Dragon Horn check. And Boo picking up Strago there as Dark Fowls takes his entry into Daryl's tomb. Not sure where Zelfer's gonna go after this. He does still have some choices. And just seeing people progressing through dungeons at the moment. A little bit of equipment fiddling on Zelfer's side. And Esper switcheroos for Boo. Floating Continent does take a little bit of time, but there are 3 checks on it, so I generally consider it worth it. And Zelfer seems like he's going for the Magitech Factory, first person to attempt that. Another place where there are 3 checks, although a lot of runners these days elect to get the first 2 and then just warp out and avoid the fixed encounters double boss final check. Dark Fells finding a Katana Soul to go with his fixed dice finally. Not electing to throw the Excalibur at it though. A poor decision.
I don't know, I thought it was a pretty good decision. Ooh, that Bolt Scheme doing a lot of damage to Dark Fowls there. It's down to Sabin versus Katana Soul here.
Sabin's Minerva once again oh! It's Vanilla Atma Weapon.
Well, how about that, Mr. Entity?
Is this even randomized?
Well, yeah. But,
I don't know. I don't think it is.
You know, well, I don't know, man. There's something that's not right there. It's just, I don't know.
Fal's taking a reset on Katana Soul. Probably will take another pass at it. If not now, then come back for it. I think he is one of those runners with a huge love for the fixed dice, which he's been holding on to since the start.
Yeah, definitely taking another try at Katana Soul. Zelfer battling Ultros 1. I dare say this single Ultima cast is going to spell doom for that purple octopus, and there it is in the inside the Megatech factory. Boss number 1 down and check number 1 acquired for Zelfer.
Fal's successfully not killing himself with the heel rod. Apparently Zelfer having a bit of a pause issue there. As Fraggle takes out
Atma Weapon. And Dark Fowls takes out Katana Soul.
Zelfer back with us now. And Val's gonna pick up that offering. Fraggle getting the Magus Rod, not a terrible endgame defensive weapon.
And Zelfer finds a Valiant Knife from that check, defeating Ultros number 1.
Another reason to search for an offering.
It's probably the single best reason to search for an offering.
Yep. One of the few weapons that does not suffer from the downscaling of weapon damage when using the offering.
The other notable one is the fixed dice, which we've addressed some of the issues with, but paired with an offering, on average you are going to get one of those gigantic fixed dice rolls for 4 attacks.
Exactly.
The main downside is that each fixed dice attack takes 3 seconds by itself, so it's 12 seconds.
Tunnel armor showing up and immediately going away.
As is the tradition.
Zelfer, as Boo takes his run at Voldergeist, and Fowls kicks the crap out of Kefka with some dice.
Yeah, offering fixed dice, you're seeing it in action right there, folks.
Another weapon for Zelfer. 2 dead checks so far for Celeste, but one of them was a Valiant Knife. Apparently he's electing to do the 3rd check.
And I don't think I blame Zelfer in this situation. The 3rd check takes longer than the other 2 combined, but if the first 2 are both dead, the idea at least is that odds are you're going to get something that you need from this final one here.
Hopefully so. Okay, some evil Oscars there for Fraggle. Not a great enemy to find, generally, but
Well, he had me use Fire Dance and was able to spin Bahamut with Setzer, but looks like I'm just too cool for school and I take those Malboros out by myself.
yeah, they're not particularly nice, but if you have weaknesses and good levels, then like most other things in this game, they're not really a problem.
No, they most certainly are not. I have the thingy. You have the thingy.
Yes, this is very good. Talking.
This whole courtroom is outboarded.
Another Ultros fight, a little bit of a different one for Fraggle.
Well, it's a pincer attack, so this is Ultros number 2 for sure. Using that acid rain. And now Mr. E jumping all over that octopus, and it's down.
That is what I'm known for.
Yep. Dark Fowls battling the Guardian.
Fighting the Guardian.
Oof. His party taking a dive there from that atomic ray. Savin's Minerva saving him yet again. So once again for Fowls, it's looking like a solo Savin battle here.
As we have seen with many people at many places, Fraggle getting a golem from the final check on the floating continent there.
Well,
it has another level 3 spell for him.
Bolt 3, and golem is one of the most desirable espers. You can avoid tier 3, the final boss's dreaded calmness move with that. So
yeah,
that's 6 espers now for Fraggle.
That is one of the only, reliable ways to get past calmness without much worry.
Pretty much.
One of the most worrying attacks in the game as well. So anything you can do to get through that, you're gonna want. Fowls taking a reset there. Bit of an issue with that Guardian fight. And once again, we have Solo 7 against Poltergeist over on blue screen as Zelfer begins a fight versus Dullahan.
Yeah, Sabin's certainly looking like pretty much every runner's MVP so far, excepting Zelfer, who I must say has a really balanced party going on here.
The main benefit, I think, for Sabin was that he was the only one who could equip the Minerva, but Zelfer has found Celeste as well, who can naturally do so.
Yeah, that's just one of the many reasons why she is one of the single best characters in the entire game.
Yeah, Terra, Celeste, and Locke all naturally have access to essentially the best equipment in the game.
Locke has access to some of the best weapons.
Oh yeah, sorry, he cannot wear the girly things.
Yeah, and those are the best defensive equipments for sure.
Yep. It just goes to show you, if you're ever trying to save the world, wear a single-piece bathing suit. It's the best defense.
Exactly. Less coverage equals more defense.
Yep.
You are quite right, Mr. Entity. Continuing on the Minecraft mayhem is Zelfer, having defeated the boss there. But no reward just from that. Zelfer's going to have to exit the Empire and fight another boss on the airship before finally being rewarded.
It is a bit of a long check, but I generally do it if I'm going to the Magitech factory, unless I'm doing it very near the end.
Well, near the end is generally the time you don't want to do it, because the last Magitech factory check is the one where you could potentially get a character. Not something that Zelfer really needs right now.
No,
so
he has as many as required. But
yeah,
it's a merchant
and
who
it's
has
a
given
Magicite.
him unicorn.
Yeah, it's a Magicite. That's exactly what Zelfer wanted to find there, so that'll put him at 6 Magicites
Pretty
now.
easy boss to lock it as well.
Yeah, it's just number 128.
Who is one step behind where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, pretty close.
He just escaped the Magitech factory, and now you gotta take him down.
Yeah. We've got Fowls inside the burning house now, so Fowls is going to be 7-7 after finishing this off and recruiting Sellies.
Yeah, Boo!
You can see the slowness of those fixed dice right now for Fowls, having to throw 4 sets of dice at that one octopus to kill it when probably anything else in his arsenal would have done.
Boo! Very clearly in the lead at this point. Once he gets to the end of the floating continent, he will have his 10th Esper.
Yeah.
And will be prepared for Kefka.
Yeah, definitely will be. Boo had some difficulties early on, but has been just really flying through it the last half hour or so there, I have to say, Miss Rennie.
Indeed, at the start it was very much Fowls in front. But now Boo has kind of just taken the lead. He's on the right path, so there's not much to stop him.
Well, he's on the right path, but it's not a guarantee that he completes the floating continent. Sometimes the same play is to just beat Atma and then hop back on the airship, rather than take a chance with the timer and potentially a boss that is going to run that timer dry and give you a game over.
The timer doesn't matter. As long as you get to the boss before it runs out, it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
really? I was not aware of that.
Yeah, no, I asked Atma one day because I was like, yeah, maybe just get rid of the timer. And he went, yeah, it's just a timer to get to the boss.
I see.
Useful knowledge! So, same fights and stuff going on. Fraggle taking the goddess fight that we've seen a few times before. We will just have to see whether it winds up being another solo Sabin endeavor, as so many things have been. Zelfer going through the train, that's going to yield an Esper for him. And Fowls going through the burning house, fighting all those little fires.
Yep, so it's going to be Sellies for Dark Fowls, it's going to be Starlit for Zelfer, Fraggle battling Goddess, Boo trying to put the finishing touches on the Atma weapon here, but having a little bit of a rough go here. Shadow taking a little nap, and Gao missing with a couple Meteos now.
Yeah, Shadow has been on the ground there for a while for Boo. Fraggle picking up Crusader. Of course, I've seen that a few times so far. Getting through that goddess fight just like everyone else did, through use of the Minerva and just fighting stuff.
Yeah, Minerva is the absolute best piece of armor you can have on. It completely nullifies 4 elements and halves the other 4. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's very little to say about it that isn't good. The only possible thing you could say about it that isn't good is, well, only the girls can have it.
Well,
Why do the girls get all the nice clothes? Sometimes us dudes want to look nice too.
Exactly, but this is a randomizer, Mr. Entity, and there is a non-zero chance that any of the non-Terra and Celes characters can wear the Minerva in any of these given seats.
Indeed, and it's always nice when you find a Minerva that people can use. Or in the Battle Royale I completed last night, Ragnaroks, which are usually only for 3 characters, were equipped by everyone in my party. So the randomized equipment does make a big difference.
It certainly does. It makes some characters potentially more viable than they'd normally be, and it just overall makes the game a little bit more interesting for sure.
Yes, the viability of equipment is one thing that Sabin usually doesn't have. He has one of the worst gear pools in the game, but in this case, he's got a Minerva, so what are you going to complain about there?
Not a whole lot really, Mr. Entity. That's really the one thing that's missing from Sabin's gear pool is good body pieces, so if he can wear a Minerva, he's going to be set. As Zelfer sends Haydn and the Haydn Knights back to the 40s.
Yeah, there's no place for their music these days. They're just too old. They haven't kept up with the times.
Yep.
Fal is about to pick up his character here.
Yep, here comes Celes to save the day.
Opting to fight a dragon, and presumably the Valley Garmander.
Well, Fraggle finds the least threatening dragon of the 8 in the Gold Dragon. Fight is basically a gimme as long as you have 2 characters.
Oh, triple bars! But it works out fine, it's just Fenrir.
It's just Fenrir, yeah.
Always a gamble, using the Gamble Man to gamble with. As Boo picks up his final requirement for Kefka's Tower, we will be seeing him
that's number 10 for Boo.
Move through there now.
I have to say, Mr. Entity, Boo's on a really, really solid pace here.
Yeah, not a lot to say about what he's doing, except that it's all been pretty good.
The only real concern I think Boo should have at this point is the levels of his characters. He's in the low 20s and low 30s for some of his starters there, so maybe a bit of overall power level concern for Boo here, but other than that, he's got everything he needs to just hop in the Kefka's Tower and
level 37, and you can, as I have shown many times, pick up a lot of levels for characters if you send them down the right paths in Kefka's Tower.
If you're willing to take an extra minute or 2 to fight a dragon each.
Yeah, and those dragons at this point are really just like one Ultima away from death, so usually if you need some levels, they're the surest way to get them.
Well, Boo is electing to take one of the runner's preferred grind spots just outside the training hall in Narsh because of that free heal from the bucket. Finds a pack of Ings, which actually is a pretty decent experience to level ratio. And you can see Gao's Meteor getting just a little bit out of control at this point.
Indeed.
The only downside to that Meteor attack is that it does not have the most reliable accuracy in the world.
No, unlike most spells in the game, it can miss. And we're finding an Ifrit/Shiva fight for Fraggle up there at the Valley Garmander.
Well, let's be honest, Mr. Entity, it's going to be an Ifrit/Ifrit fight for Fraggle. I would be very amazed if...
I prefer to lie.
I would be amazed if the boss...
It's going to be 100% Shiva. I will take no counter-arguments. Look at the magic urns. Look at them. Look at them.
I see the magic urns.
Okay.
That's not what Boo wanted to run into. He wants experience.
That's the opposite of what you want to run into. They don't give you any experience.
Yeah, well, the good news is they are susceptible to Meteor, so there's some magic points for Boo, if nothing else.
Zelfer picking up Mog. Not a great character to find when you're just looking for Espers at the end of the game. Even if you need more checks, he's only got the one.
And we know that the one check is going to lead Zelfer to another character, Shadow. So this is going to be, Zelfer is heading there to check what Mog gives, and I don't blame him, but this is going to be character number 9 for Zelfer.
That's unfortunate. And I don't know that there are many checks that he could do that he hasn't done that yield an Esper that aren't locked behind Shadow. Fraggle taking out.
Well, I believe the quick check at Gao's father's house was the Siren Esper. So.
Yep, it was indeed an Esper.
And if you're willing to see the entirety of the floating continent through, there are 2 up there as well.
Fowls apparently has not been to South Figaro before, just looting the basement now. A little late in the game for that, usually.
My bad.
Jack.
Yeah, I know. I fixed it.
Okay,
Just chill.
Fraggle's going to Zen. And Boo checking out the rear of the house for nothing. There's nothing in the box.
Nope, there certainly is not. But Fraggle did pick up that Ramu Esper for 900 gil, as many of our runners did quite some time ago. Mm-hmm. And at this point, you can understand why he's going to go through the house here. Sees that it's not a character, definitely needs Espers, so why not give it a go? But it's going to be a very disappointing Tiger Fangs.
Fraggle running behind a bit on characters there, unfortunately, but he'll find them eventually, and he is an Esper ahead of Zelfer, who is having real difficulties finding those Espers.
Yeah, because this, as we mentioned, crossing the bridge to Lone Wolf is going to be character number 9 for Zelfer.
Yeah, Fowls just needs 3 Espers to be ready for Kefka's Tower.
And is going to try the Opera House, and this is going to lead him to Edgar, which is not an Esper.
No, but there was at least 1 Esper in the Edgar checks. Fraggle finishing up the burning house. Zelfer walking down to presumably essay Kefka at Nourish.
At this point, I think you have to. You can see that the NPC isn't a character, and when you're needing 5 Espers, you have to go for it.
Genji gloves and earrings there in that shop, and Boo not picking up either one of them.
I don't think those are necessarily what Boo needs at this point. Boo pretty comfortable on the accessory front, and Genji Glove not an appealing choice.
Going for KT, no, it's going to Elbrook. Not confident in his inventory, it would seem.
Boo being a little cautious here, just wants to make sure that he's ready to clear everything out, it looks like. We've got Zelfer doing Kefka at Nurse. We know this one's a gimme, it was Phantom Train.
Yep, and it yielded the Phantom Esper. So that's 1 step towards Kefka Tower for Zelfer.
It most certainly is.
Oh, Fraggle finally making his way out of Zen. Boo making his way out of Albrook. Is he going to KT yet? No, gonna check out another town. We'll see.
Where's he heading to?
I do not know. He's just looking at the ocean.
Flying around, having an adventure.
No, he just needed to be calmed by the calm ocean, the waves lapping to a shore, and now he's gonna go kill a clown.
Well, he was on an airship, Mr. Entity. I don't think he could really feel that. I think he was more interested in feeling the wind through his hair.
It's got ship right in the name.
Like on, the cover of every power metal album ever, Mr. Entity. The wind
ones
through
that
their
don't
hair.
involve golden dolphins and rainbows.
Yes, exactly. Those power metal covers. Oh, and of course, Zelfer, being a beautiful human, and did do the suplex. I caught that. I was busy arguing with my unfortunate co-commentator here and couldn't acknowledge it until now. But officially, the race is now between Fraggle and Zelfer, as they are the only 2 of our runners that so far have acknowledged what has to be done whenever you run into a train.
And that is, you pick it up, you jump into the sky, and you slam it down onto the ground and break its spine. Train spine.
Exactly right you are, Mr. Entity.
And then you throw Phoenix down at it because you feel bad for it.
Exactly, you're just...
And then it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But how are you to know? You were just trying to help.
Yeah, exactly.
You were trying to help.
Yeah.
What do you get for it? An Esper in this case.
Yes, exactly.
Fraggle doing the Doomgaze fight in the sky. I believe that yielded an Esper when Boo did it, and indeed it is another one for Fraggle, who just needs one more at this point to move on to some character checks.
Yep.
Another
character check's not the problem on this seed. Honestly, kind of surprising that it's only been 5 characters for Fraggle so far.
Yeah, but
Dark Fowls is battling Chadar Nook on the stage of the Opera House, and Dark Fowls unfortunately going to be quote-unquote rewarded with Edgar, which is not what he's looking for right now. And if you'll recall, Mr. Entity, we've seen all of Edgar's checks. There's 2 more characters to recruit and a Genji shield, so no Espers to be found there if that's the avenue that Dark Fowls elects to go down.
Let's hope he has his license. Fraggle going to Drill's tomb. And Zelfer looks like he's going to do the Valigarmander check. I'm going to consistently call it Valigarmander. I think it's a stupider name. And finally, we see Kefka's Tower on Boo.
Yeah.
As Edgar steals Celeste away over on Fowls' screen.
Looks like Zelfer is going to battle the dragon.
To fight the Durgan.
Yeah, we knew that it was the Gold Durgan, so very easy battle overall.
And at the level he is, it wouldn't matter too much if it was the Dirt Durgan. He's got the health to survive a quake and the jumper. Was he a jumper? Or is it still just frag? No, yeah, he put it on 7. I used my brains to remember.
Well, most of our runners have a jumper, Mr. Entity, but Fraggle just simply has the most effective one, as his jumper is using an Aura Lance.
Indeed. Boo skipping the Durgan. I guess he got enough levels to feel comfortable, or money, or whatever he was doing in Nash.
I would certainly hope so. At this point, he's got 4 characters that are in the very late 30s. Usually that's all you need there, and considering that the gear has been pretty good on this seed, you can see his Sabin not wearing a shield, but that's not the end of the world when you have a Minerva on.
And the Magus Rod.
Yeah, Magus Rod, good defensive weapon. On top of giving you some passive magic power, it also gives you, I believe, 30% magic evade.
It is indeed 30%.
We've got a Tritalk location battle for Zelfer.
It's pronounced Valigarmander.
I said Tritalk.
Yeah, you're saying it wrong.
No, it's Tritalk.
No, it's not. It doesn't sound like the way it's spelled.
Okay, I gotcha. But anyway, he's battling Ifrit and Shiva, which I believe it was
it is
Fowls that we've already seen do this battle before?
It was Fraggle.
It was Fraggle.
And he gained an Esper from it.
Mm-hmm.
A Welk over there on Boo's screen.
A very dangerous boss to see in Kefka's I can't even finish that sentence. It's a gimme.
Oh, sorry, the end of it was in Kefka's Tower, and then you put a period to indicate that the sentence is over.
Yeah, but I couldn't do that.
Well, practice?
I don't need to practice. I don't think.
If you can't do it.
Hey, I don't think there's a human on planet Earth that could have completed that sentence, Mr. Entity.
The Welk is a very dangerous boss to find in Kefka's Tower, and then a period to indicate that the sentence is over. But as we all know, I'm a perfectly normal human wind baby.
You are the pedant.
Yep. And it's my superpower.
Exactly.
I go around correcting technicalities.
Well, it's going to be Daryl's tomb for Zelfer. I believe we found another Esper down here.
I believe so.
Yeah, it was...
Fraggle getting a Strength +2 Esper. Unfortunately, a bit too late for that to have much utility.
My memory might be getting a little foggy at this point because we've seen so many different checks from all 4 players because of how open the seed was in terms of character gating, but if memory serves, I think it was just Ultros 1 at the end of Daryl's tomb for an easy Esper.
Sounds about right. I don't know where else he would have been, so yeah, this seems about correct. Getting a lot of grooves there from the Welk. The unfortunate bit of the fight, just waiting.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time, but Boo hasn't hit it in the groove hole.
Yes, that is the thing you want to avoid. You try to stay away from the groove hole.
Well,
It's
honestly, in this case, for Boo, it wouldn't matter. His Sabin has that Minerva on. This boss literally cannot defeat Boo unless Boo were to fall asleep at the wheel for about 20 minutes of combat time.
Who is playing the game with a wheel?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he have, like, a controller?
Well, no, it's one of those, like, racing wheels that you can get for your PC. He just finagled all the buttons to work for, different angles.
Added difficulty.
Of him. Yeah, exactly.
Right, he's moving on to the beating Dark Souls with a Donkey Konga controller.
Yeah, exactly.
Style of boredom with the game.
Yeah, he's doing good times.
And Fraggle finding Umaro. A bit of an unfortunate thing since he just went to fight Valley Garmander. But you take what you can get sometimes. It was Kefka in Daryl's tomb. I do not know where that Ultros. Oh, I think maybe it was the Magitech Factory. I think it was the Magitech Factory.
I don't think it matters too much at this point.
Not really.
What does matter at this point is that Fowls did not get an Esper from his check, so still needs 2 more. Fraggle, meanwhile, is closing in on the end, just needs 1 more character here. Zelfer is still having the problem of having all the characters and options in the world, but still only 5 Espers, just not finding the checks.
I guess then Fowls hasn't found Umaro yet, as he elected not to go do that. Going for the Fanatics Tower. That's a move.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton, but no. I take it back. Zelfer is configuring his party for Kefka's Tower, so I did not think he only had 5 Espers, but apparently he's got a few more than that. If he's
in there, then he's definitely got at least 10.
Yeah,
it won't let you enter unless you have them. So, Vamp a bit behind on the Esper count for Zelfer apparently, and it's a bit closer of a race than we thought.
Well, the thing is, I've seen Zelfer find a bunch of Espers, but
as I said before, this can be very hard to track, especially in a very open race like this where everyone's going everywhere.
Completely different directions entirely, Mr. Entity. You are right. Anyway,
Val's doing one of my least favorites.
This is going to be very interesting for a finish between Zelfer and Boo, I have to say, Mr. Entity. Boo is a Welk and a bit of walking ahead of Boo right now. However, we certainly know that Zelfer has the far more potent offense of the 2 players there.
Very much so. Fraggle off to
despite Boo's lead here inside Kefka's Tower, Zelfer could still come back and win this thing here with his superior offense.
And Fraggle about to get his final character, so he'll be entering Kefka's Tower shortly as well.
Exactly right you are, Mr. Entity. We do know that Serpent Trench leads to Old Man Strago, which I do not see Fraggle putting into his very established party of named humans, but it will allow him access to Kefka's Tower.
Yes, I will have to berate him later for failing to rename Setzer. Clearly be named Setzer with an exclamation point at the end to indicate the end of the sentence.
Indeed.
And Fowl slowly making his way through Ebbett's Rock as Boo runs into one of the only worrying late-game bosses, Doomgaze.
Well, luckily for Boo, his beater in this party, Sabin, was not level 5, so,
Just has to hope that he doesn't run into any Doom-related issues.
yeah. Well, gonna make use of that quick spell, and why not? That's gonna give you double turns as long as it's active.
Yeah, Fowls finally feeding that chest.
Unfortunately for Boo, it looks like his best offense options for Sabin are just the basic Pummel.
His Doomgaze
It's doing good damage, but it's probably going to be a longer fight at this point. Doomgaze is going to have a reasonable level and probably about 20,000 hit points.
Doomgaze is just weak to fire, not hurt.
Yes, and on top of that, Doomgaze has really high physical and magical defenses.
Might be a good option to use Fire Dance there instead of the Pummel, but Pummel is a lot faster.
Well, Pummel ignores defense, whereas Fire Dance does not. Yeah, Pummel ignores defense. I can see why Boo is using it, but I have to wonder, is that really the best option that he has, just to use Sabin's starting move at this point?
Well, he's also got Quick. Fal's taking out Umaro there.
Quick is certainly going to help him defensively in this fight to allow him to have more turns over Doomgaze. But his offense against this boss seems really lackluster here.
And Fowls finds Realm, which yields one very quick check and one longer check with a boss. Well, they both have bosses.
Well, unfortunately for Fowls, that's not what he was looking for. Fowls needs Espers.
Still needs a couple Espers to move on to the end. Fraggle about to pick up his old man here, and Zelfur killing that Welk.
Yeah.
Ooh, an arrow for Sabin, who is wearing a Minerva and
so,
does not give any
cares?
cares.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that's going to take Sabin out of this fight is a stray Doom spell that makes it through his magic evasion. Ice 3? Nah, we don't care about that.
No.
Well, Fraggle has his 7 characters and 10 Espers, so
moving on to Kefka's Tower.
he also has the option to enter Kefka's Tower right now.
Doomgaze goes down for Boo, getting a little lucky there. No dooms thrown at him at an inopportune time.
Definitely not Mr. Envy, but not the fastest fights. It took him, I believe, 9 pummels to take him out there, and you really have to hope that Boo has something up his sleeve for the later battles, the final battles in the game. If he's resorting to using pummels with Sabin in the final battle, that's not good offense, I have to say.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but at least in the final battles there are multi-target things you could do. Airblade is very useful.
It certainly is. Oh, and we've got a showstopper here, folks. We've got Magimaster
problem
in
and an
Tower.
immediate reset from Boo, who's probably going to leave the tower and re-enter.
I don't
he's
know
got a
about
wall
that.
ring.
I believe Boo did pick up some wall rings, so that would be the obvious solution to the battle. Even with just his Minerva on, he could have won that just by pummeling throughout the fight and tossing elixirs as needed.
It just takes quite a while.
It certainly does. He does have a wall ring, however, so Boo's going to re-engage the boss and put the controller down until Magimaster is defeated. Meanwhile, Zelfur making up some good ground here, comes up against Doomgaze, so
is
not
he
too
level
far
5?
behind.
No,
Boo.
he's got 2 useful characters for this. Gonna make up some time on that compared to Boo's single Sabin party.
Yeah, and Zelfur having a much better option than Pummel here in Gao's Ultima, dealing the damage cap.
Fal's finally finding another Esper, just needs one more. We might have all our racers in KT pretty soon.
Yeah, just one more Esper for Fowls, and then everyone's ready to go. Fowls defeating the Guardian at the Search the Sky spot. So just one more Esper for Fowls, and then everyone's going to be in there at pretty much the same time. Pretty close race overall this week,
Yeah.
I have to say, Mr. Entity.
It, not too far apart. And considering the very different paths everyone took to get where they are, it's one of the neat things about this randomizer is that everyone can just go everywhere
Yeah.
and then still wind up at the end at about the same time.
I have to say though, Mr. Entity, Zelfer, finding that Esper with the Ultima on it is going to save him a ton of time here. You can see Boo having to simply put the controller down and wait for Magimaster to defeat itself via reflected spells.
Yeah, so there is a wall ring right
is going to
at
be
the
able
start.
Zelfer is going to be able to cast Ultima all over Hell's Creation and get that fight over with much quicker.
Yep. The wall ring was the first chest in Kefka's Tower, so everyone's going to have one. Whether or not they purchased or otherwise gained one before. And we're gonna see a Magimaster fight on Zelfer's screen, and possibly a reset.
Well, see how he decides to handle it
He's
here.
opting to just stagger up with an arrow and some ultimas.
Yeah, Arrow is probably the optimal starting play here. Much faster animation than Flare and higher attack power. So that's going to do a nice chunk of damage, and from here on out, it's going to be Gao casting Ultimas against Magimaster through Zelfer, you would have to think.
This is the point at which Zelfer is going to overtake Boo.
Well, he's going to elect to use his Flare spells on Strago. Those should do a decent amount of damage. Animation a little on the long side, though, but
10Ks from those Ultimas is going to go a long way.
It's going to be a fast Magimaster fight. Boo does get it done.
Him out.
Boo gets it done, but remember, Zelfer still has another party with Solo Celes, who is also packing Ultima, possibly double Ultima, since there was that free...
Zelfer going to have a much, presumably, faster time going through Final Kefka. Already out of that Magimaster fight, and another person knows Ultima.
Yeah, because why not? It's going to be all the Ultimas in the world for Zelfer in the final battle. However, one thing that Zelfer needs to be aware of in the final battle is the order in which he defeats some of the targets. He doesn't want to eat some of those nasty Quake counterattacks, for example. That could ruin everything.
Just throwing Ultimas all over the place is not necessarily a great strategy for Kefka.
And another difficult battle here inside Kefka's Tower. We have Atma for the party number 1 here, which is...
Fraggle electing for the dragon.
Yeah, Fraggle going for a little bit more experience and killing power here. His Rav, aka Shadow, still under 2,000 hit points, so not necessarily a bad idea here.
An Ultros in the Tentacle Room. How very appropriate. And I think they're his babies.
Unfortunately for Fowls, we know that all this is going to result in is a Genji shield. And it would not surprise me if Fowls elects to do Ancient Castle as well, and we know that that only leads to Cyan, so another potential dead check looming for Fowls.
This is probably going to be Atma going down on Zelfer's screen, while Boo still fights. Oh no, that Ultima did like 1,000 damage. I guess it was Gogo mimicking it, and he's like level 5.
That certainly was the case, Mr. Entity.
But here comes probably the death blow.
Celes is good at magic, and Atma is down for Zelfer.
Zelfer overtaking Boo at the last minute in Kefka's Tower.
Well, at the last minute in Kefka's Tower, but still the final battle looms. So with Zelfer's superior offense, his destiny is entirely in his hands here. As long as he doesn't make any mistakes in the final battle, Zelfer should be our victor tonight.
Should be, but sometimes you get problems with Final Kefka that you can't expect or deal with.
You never know. That tiger in the second tier is potentially one of the worst enemies in the entire game. If it decides to freeze your whole party, that's a game over. There's nothing you can do about that.
That happened to me 2 weeks ago.
It certainly did.
3 of my people got frozen at once, and the other one was a zombie. That was a very fast decision to reset for me. Fraggle taking a wipe, apparently. Now he's going to some towns to purchase some stuff. Maybe change up the order in which he puts his peoples.
Probably gonna stock up and try to reconfigure his guys a little bit better here. Shadow dead for Zelfer, but I don't think it's gonna matter too much here.
The other Ultros fight.
It's Ultros number 3. 3 is what it is, Mr. Entity, and Sabin jumping all over that for 4 jumps for 3,000 damage apiece.
Those dragon horns are very good things.
They certainly are, and you have to imagine here that as long as Sabin procs 1 or 2 jumps, this should be it for Ultros, and Zelfer is going to be... Oh, another quadruple jump for Zelfer. Look at that.
Very nice, very fast. Really showing how just finding a couple extra things, maybe building your team a little differently, can yield very different results in the endgame.
Absolutely, making mincemeat of this seed is Zelfer now. Boo did a very, very good job of collecting everything to get it going, but Zelfer's superior offense definitely carrying the day here.
Yep. Fal's electing to fight this monster in a box, which we know isn't going to be an offering. Not sure what he's trying to accomplish there. He already has the offering.
Yes, he does. As you can see, Setzer throwing all the dice in the world at these PM stalkers.
Oh, Zelfer already making his way straight up to Kefka.
And no reason not to. He's already defeated all the bosses. I mean, Kefka's the final obstacle here, and we know Zelfer has 3 characters with Ultima in tow here.
And some level 3 spells as well, so as long as he strategizes correctly, he should have a pretty easy time getting through there.
Yep, just have to be a little bit careful and be prepared for those final counters. Because
moving on to his final...
As far as this game's final battle goes, there are a few nasty moves that they can bust out, but it's really the counterattacks in this final battle that make it difficult. If you can plan around those, you can effectively null all the counterattacks from Tier 1, and as long as you're patient with Tier 2 and let the 10 hits guy go before the other ones, you're sitting pretty. If you have a way to nullify Calmness in Tier 3, that's good too, and the main thing about Kefka in...
we're seeing straight up
at the very end
from Zelfer, maybe not thinking too hard about the Quake and the... what did the other one do?
Some shockwaves.
Yes.
Based on total hit points, though, if he's just gonna spam Ultimas and he's hitting all the parts for the same damage, that head is going to die last, and there will be a Quake.
He has elected to throw some Ice 3s at it, though, so it's just a matter of when the damage comes out. Fal's finding Gogo and presumably swearing at his screen profusely.
Yeah, that is 10 characters now for Fal's. Very disappointing, but we knew it was going to happen the moment he went and did Edgar checks.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did not. Maybe we should have told him.
That would be kind of breaking the spirit of the rules for these kind of races, Mr. Entity, but I certainly can empathize with Fal's here. It's always frustrating when you know that there's only one thing left that you need, and you find... In Fal's case, I believe it's been 6 dead checks in a row now.
Yeah, this would have been... Even when he was at 8 and 10, I would have been at the auction house. He doesn't have any quick checks left, and as much as I hate the auction house, if there are espers there, it's gonna be faster than just running around doing long things.
Well, maybe we'll see the army of chancellors inside the Zone Eater. Maybe Fal's will elect to go there to look for the final esper.
Perhaps he does have some choices. Boo getting through Atma there. Fraggle apparently not electing to fight the Red Dragon this time, which did wipe his party before.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Red Dragon can still be dangerous if you're
on to Tier 2. Not much going wrong for him there. I think that was Boo's 3rd boss of the 3 required? Or does he still have Ultros left?
Boo still has to defeat Ultros, yes. And yeah, Zelfer did wisely do that single casting of Ice 3 with Sellies to get rid of the head first. Not its weakness, but enough damage to avoid the Quake counterattack. And that Quake counterattack is extremely potent. It can deal about 3,000 to your entire team. Really nasty stuff.
Yeah, and the Minerva will half the damage, but it's not one of the things it absorbs.
No, it's not. And
I mean, nullifies.
Well, even just having the damage from the Minerva, he still has 2 characters that aren't wearing those.
Exactly.
And those
Well, it goes down for Fraggle, finding that a little easier than the Red Durgan.
Definitely, just a bit.
As we see Boo get into the Ultros fight. Oh, I gained a level. That's nice for me.
Yeah, it certainly is.
And Fal's selling stuff. I don't know if he's trying to buy that economizer or if he was selling things to attempt to get an Esper from the auction house. I did not see what town he went into.
Well, at this point, when you're only 1 Esper away, you might as well try it. I think several players, including mine, opinion of the auction house is well known at this point, but it can pay off. There was an economizer for sale there, which is kind of interesting.
What he was buying, apparently.
Yeah. And
I think it is an overvalued item, but they are useful.
It's overvalued because of the abundance of elixirs in chests.
Yeah.
And I can understand why some players would rather an economizer over elixirs, because there is that whole mythos of it's too good to use.
That is a problem I have with JRPGs, and one thing that I went out of my way to make sure went into the design document for the RPG I'm making. Just a lot of RPGs, you get to the end and you wind up with all this stuff in your inventory that would have been so useful if you had just used it at a time in the game when you were like, it'll be better later. So, it can happen in this game, and that is a difficult mindset to get over.
Well, the main reason for that mindset is if you fail the battle, you can reload your save and keep the items that you didn't need to use and find another way through it.
Yes.
However, in a race situation, it's better to win the fights on the first try. So elixirs become indispensable. They are amazing items.
Is gonna have a bad time again.
Where's Fals is going to the Magitech factory. There is an Esper
if he goes all the way through it.
That's the caveat.
I would definitely auction house before going here.
Boo now starting his final battle.
And Fraggle picking up the traditional final chest of a Super Ball.
And Zelfer getting to work on Tier 3. It opens with a Merton, but as you can see, not doing a whole lot of damage to his party with those Minervas equipped.
Yeah, and Fraggle about to move on to his bosses. We'll see how he fares against Magimaster. And Fal's frankly just going in the wrong direction.
Well, the good news is I don't believe Magimaster was the first boss you had to fight. It was the second one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the first one was pretty much a gimme. I kind of forget what it was now.
It was a Welk.
Yes, it was. So you can at least get that out of the way, claim your save points.
Yes,
and,
it is at least beyond the save point.
Yeah.
And then you can make your decision about what to do. And we got Boo fighting Tier 1, as Zelfer fights Tier 3, just throwing ultimas all over the place. Some Meteos getting thrown at Zelfer, but he's got all the shields apparently, so not going too terribly for him. And yeah, we got Fal's about to fight the not Ifrit.
So Zelfer taking a chance here, getting the Phantom up.
Oh,
because that's only what he has available. As long as he counted Sleep's hit points correctly, which he did, so those calmnesses are going to miss. So able to go into Kefka with his 4 optimal characters. They're all invisible though, so they're guaranteed to take damage from the first magical ability that Kefka throws off. Which, unless he does an obscene amount of damage, is going to just be Fallen 1. which, while threatening, is something that you can recover from. We do know that everyone who makes it to the final battle in this seed is going to have a Mega Elixir in inventory, Mr. Entity, because they did have to defeat Magimaster on the way.
Indeed. And here comes the final clown. As Fraggle fights Doomgaze and Fowls takes his very long journey to the final Esper he requires. I kind of feel bad for him, because this is not the first time we've seen him with a massive lead at the start and then just terrible checks. Oh, a reset on Boo. I wasn't quite looking at his screen. Not sure why he did that. Maybe he got one of those counters you don't want to see.
I believe Boo still had a wall ring on one of his characters.
That can be a problem in the final battle.
It can be. It's something you can work around, but if you're not comfortable with it, it's probably better to reset and reconfigure. So yeah, there it is. Boo is going to take off that wall ring from Setzer.
And Fowl's showing the disparity of rolls with a 10k followed by 80 damage roll. Fraggle,
right you are.
Getting through Doomgaze as Fowls finds an Atma weapon from his second dead check in a row here in the Magitech Factory. And Zelfer just throwing flares and ultimas.
Well, at this point, there's no reason not to be throwing all the offense.
Charges for Goner, he will not counter.
And really, in the final battle, Kefka's counters are the worst thing. You could get Havoc Wing, which is the worst physical attack in the game. You could get a Hyperdrive, which is the worst magical attack in the game. Or you could get an Ultima, which is basically going to be a game over unless you're level 70 or above. But Zelfer takes care of this halfway through Selly's double cast, and is going to be your winner tonight.
And as Fraggle makes me and you fight Magimaster. 1.
Yeah, so Zelfer wins with an official time of 1 minute 45 seconds, or 1 minute 45 minutes and 32 seconds.
1 minute 42 minutes.
1 minute 45:32. That's Zelfer's final time. He's your winner tonight. Everyone, please get your GGs out in the chat room if that's what pleases you.
We will attempt to get him into an interview here.
Others may elect to throw out some Chancellors or other Final Fantasy VI related emotes. We will try to get Zelfer in here for an interview, which means that I, Jackamus, am going to be silenced for a little while.
Yes, unfortunately, due to the setup of 2 people in the same room with 1 pair of headphones, just doesn't really work.
However, we know a way around that. I just have to go to a different room and close the door, and I can hop in on the call manually.
Exactly. So we will see if Zelfer wants to give that interview, and just watch Fraggle struggle with Magimaster. He doesn't seem to be doing too bad so far. It is a problematic fight. And I will insert my headphones into the thing where the headphones go. I believe it's called the jack. Jack, I'm going to insert my headphones in you.
You also need to insert yourself into one of the Discord rooms.
Yes, I know. So I will get myself into this streaming room. And I will pull in Zelfer. Hello, Zelfer. GG, you win. Yeah, so how'd you feel about that? Yeah, you were. Boo entered Kefka's Tower before you did, but you did overtake him in the end. Yeah, the Ultimas and the Magimaster and Atma fights are where you just took over. Is it not? Oh, let me see if I can fix that quickly. Audio output, please. Well, my desktop volume is on, so I'm not sure what the deal. Oh! I know exactly what it is. It's that it's not coming out of my speakers; it is coming out of my headphones. So that should fix it.
Testing.
I'm going to presume that fixed it.
No,
No?
we're good, guys.
Okay.
We're good.
So
We're good?
I have
All right.
Zophyr with me. We were just discussing his overtaking of Boo. And good job on that. The Ultimas are a bit slow, but when you're watching someone else just pummel Magimaster slowly to death, and then you walk up and you're like, here's a couple Ultimas. You can make up a lot of time.
Yeah, I bet that doesn't make up a lot of time. Mandarancer is just one of those things that just needs to go away. So I'm glad I had Ultima for that at least. That and Ultima. Or Atma, I should say.
So, Zelfer, for you, all four of our featured races went on very different paths. You ended up going down the Edgar leads to Locke path, and that's where you found that Esper that gave you Ultima. And that ultimately, no pun intended, ended up being the crux of your victory tonight on the restream. Just that overwhelming offensive power that the other three featured racers lacked. How happy were you when you found that Esper with Ultima ×1?
Well, I like to try to use other things besides Ultima, but at that point, Ultima was really the only really good thing I had, so I was really happy to find it. I really was. I definitely wasn't aware nobody else really found it, so when I found it, usually when I find like Ultima or something good like that, I'm like, alright, well, I'm sure a lot of other people have found this. I'm going to need to use this to be able to keep up myself, but
unfortunately for the others, you took a different path and you're the only one that got it, so it made a lot of difference.
If I may say so, Mr. Entity, something that was very interesting with the other players, though, is that our other three racers all found Shadow fairly early on, and we know how powerful Throw can be in the randomizer, both in terms of damage and time. But we didn't see a whole lot of throwing action tonight here, so Ultima did end up being the optimal way to do damage between our four racers.
Yeah, where we've been seeing a lot of shurikens getting thrown around. Boo is currently throwing a shuriken at Kefka tier 2. Which, might be the time to start throwing out better weapons, but it's just one of those things. So, Well, thanks for the race and stuff, Zelfer. Good job on the win. You got any final thoughts there?
Not too much, actually. It was a lot of fun, and I'm just going to hop off so I can watch the rest of the race and see what everyone else is doing.
Perfect. I hope to see you in the community hang afterwards for some Jackbox.
Oh, that
Thanks
sounds like
very
a lot
much
of fun.
for joining us for a little bit of post-game gab, Zelfer. You have yourself a great night, and thanks for being on the restream. It was a pleasure having you, and you did a real good job. Congratulations.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Alright, have a good one, man. So, we are currently seeing Fraggle fight Atma with a dead Strago and a live Setzer. We've got Boo's fighting tier 2, and Fowl's finally in Kefka's tower, almost electing to fight the dragon, but not in the end. Some Ice Rod breakage there on the Atma. Some very frozen and dead party on Boo's screen there. That's far from ideal.
That is generally what you would like to avoid against Tier 2. At least his 7 is not a zombie, Mr. Entity.
Yeah,
Ooh, he's going to throw up a life 3 on his only controllable character for safety. Oh my, here comes another North Cross. Thankfully, Sabin evades it, so he can still control one of his 4 characters. And that Atomic Ray, actually a blessing in disguise, being a fire elemental move, thaws Gao out. So Gao, uncontrollable, but is able to toss that Meteo out there and get some very potent damage. And
That's
against tier number 2.
almost 10k against everything on the screen except the one that he missed.
Yep, maybe not the best one to miss. Could be the last part he takes out, which means that he's going to have to endure a 10 hits counter before going into tier 3, which might wipe some of his party out.
Yes.
He's already in dire shape here, folks.
10 hits often a problem in these, as most runners tend to value evasion over defense, and sometimes you just can't get that physical defense that high when you're worried about other stuff. So 10 hits, I have regularly had do 500 to 600 damage per shot to me, which is easily enough if you can't evade it, or it just hits the wrong characters to wipe you out. Not a good thing to happen just before you go up a tier. Fal's getting past the Welk here, the most difficult boss of the seed, as Atma continues to fight Fraggle.
The creator showing his displeasure against Fraggle tonight.
Well, see, this is Setzer, the character he did not rename. Obviously, Atma is going to be angry at him.
Exactly, Mr. Entity. If only Fraggle had renamed yet one more character, I think he would have had better fortunes tonight.
Indeed.
Well, the good news is that Fowls is well on his way into Kefka's tower, electing to fight a dragon, though, so...
He walked up to the first one and then backed away from it, so I think he was either thinking it was a different party that he needed some experience on, or just is fighting them by default.
Well, the good news for Fowls is that in his long search for those final Espers, he did happen upon the Ultima Esper. So with his Cellies in a gem box,
that's a very
he's
dead
going
white
to
dragon.
make mincemeat out of pretty much everything left in
He
his
also
way
has
here.
economizers, so he can just throw Ultimas all day long. 10
All
hits
day,
there
every
on
day.
Boo. Sabin is down.
I'm not feeling too good about Setzer after this
Setzer
flare
might
goes
go
off.
down as well, and he very much did.
And 2 attacks queued up here for Boo. With all luck, that magic part will hang on after Gao throws out this Meteo for
Oh, he's gotta
8,000
have more than
damage
10k
because
health,
Boo's
or
going to
other-
want the rest of his characters alive here.
Now, is that the counter? It is.
It
Oh,
is.
that is rough luck for Boo.
Yeah, it's going to be a little difficult from here on out. Boo still has a shot as long as one of his Gao or Shadow had that all-important Golem and or Fenrir Esper equipped here. But it's going to be an uphill battle without his Sabin or Setzer, which were 2 of his main beaters tonight.
Very much so. Fraggle taking a wipe to Atma as it throws an Ultima at him.
It's a pretty ultimate magical spell, Andrew, I have to say.
We got 2 dead guys on Boo and 2 almost dead guys on Boo.
I was in a coffin with a dead guy!
No, you weren't.
Well, you were.
And throwing some elixirs.
Oh my, Boo is down to RNG at this point. His only
That
character
is
left
not
alive is an uncontrollable Gao.
Is he going to leave it and try it, or is he going to take the reset?
Well, that Pearl Wind isn't going to do anything because Gao's Meteo very nearly killed it outright. As long as he keeps getting a lot of Meteos. Oh, that's a brutal hit for his Gao. The girl is down at this point, though. It's not
looking good.
impossible. He's going to need some luck and dodging here. Gao is his only offensive weapon left here. Rough going for Boo right now, but it's not impossible just yet.
No, he is having some RNG issues with what it's throwing, just all attacks.
Yeah, that Meteo would be a huge boon right now, doing a lot more damage. So here it
Val's taking out
comes.
Doomgaze there.
Here comes that Meteo from Gao. Retaliates with Merton. I hope his Gao has some sort of fire or wind protection. He does. He's still going. Gives a physical strike. No counterattack from Sleep. Still going is Boo's solo Gao at low health. Here comes a Meteo. This is going to do a ton of damage. The real concern here is the counterattack. It's trained. That's not going to matter in this case. The blind might hurt his random physical chances, but he can still cast that particular Meteo spell through that.
It's all down to calmness.
Here comes calmness, and it lands. So Gao is
But
down.
he's got the life
He's
3.
got life 3. Calmness
here
comes
comes
again.
another calmness.
He blocks it. On to final Kefka is Boo. Amazing stuff here, folks.
Meanwhile, everybody on
not over
Zelfer's
yet.
screen just completely dead. So I don't think he wins anymore.
Boo! I sincerely hope you're able to pull this off because that was an incredible Tier 3 battle.
If Boo-
with a solo, uncontrollable Gao able to hang on and keep it going.
If Boo somehow pulls this off,
It's solo Gao versus Kefka, folks.
he's going in with the 2 people who managed to suplex the train.
If Boo is able to pull this off, this is going to be probably the most incredible finish
Interesting.
we will
It
ever
removes
see.
the rage.
Wisely electing to break a rod here at the start. He knows that Fallen 1 is coming. He's going to need to use an elixir or something after this.
Quite a
And
lot of
now the
damage
real-
from that rod.
Yeah, and now the real question is, after throwing the elixir, does he go right into the Tyrannosaur Rage, or is he going to try to break more items at Kefka?
I would elect to play for safety here rather than just attempt damage, but we'll see what he does. He's got a couple more rods there. That'll get him to the 30k point.
Pretty much, Mr. Entity. They're doing pretty close to max damage each. He might need another swing to get him over that threshold there. We'll have to see how he plays that. It's a little risky because you could incur a counterattack on that.
Yep.
Oh,
Just a
jeez!
straight punch for 25k damage.
Just a
that's
regular
rough.
physical attack from
Cal
Kefka.
must have not had any gear on him at all.
I guess so, Mr. Entity. We're used to seeing Havoc Wing do thousands and thousands of damage, but Kefka's regular physical doing almost 2,500 there. That's absolutely brutal, and it looks as though that's enough for Boo tonight.
Yeah,
he has thrown
taken
in the towel.
forfeit.
But we'll still see if we can get him in here for a couple minutes to hear his thoughts about the seed, even though, unfortunately for Boo, it's game over forever at this point.
Yeah, that is not the best, but you know, sometimes the game just does not like you. I will endeavor to get him in here if he feels like talking about it. Where is my Discord? There it is.
I certainly
we
hope he does,
still
Mr.
have-
Entity.
People fighting that Atma.
You. It's bottom right.
I know what it is.
No, you don't. I mean, yeah, you do, but no, you don't.
There it is. Okay. So, still seeing that ending up on the top from Zelfer. Boo, now in the chat with us, apparently. Not so much responding to the interview request, but that's fine. We will just watch our other 2 racers continue on with their trek through Kefka's Tower. We've got an Atma versus Setzer fight. Throwing meteors, apparently. Not a lot of damage on those. This is far from an optimal setup for Fraggle, unfortunately. Atma's not a very nice boss, and if all you have to throw at him is meteors, it's gonna take a while. And it might take so long that he gets that ultima out on you, and that's pretty much a party wipe. We're seeing a Genji glove. Oh, no, not a Genji glove offering. Just an offering and a Valiant knife. No, sticking with the Pearl Dance on Fals. As he moves onwards towards some more bosses. Fraggle obviously is still struggling with that Atma. I might take this time while they're both fighting that Atma to suggest that everyone check out the randomizer if you haven't. It's ff6wc.com to roll up a seed if you want to play. There's also a Discord you can come to. People are very welcoming. I suggest you maybe join up with that if you feel like doing a race but need to get some questions answered or something. People are very friendly. They're very helpful. They will help you out. And we're building up a nice little community at this point, trying to get some new people into the races and stuff. We are trying to have races for people who aren't necessarily that experienced, just to try to get more faces on screen, more people actively involved. So anybody that wants to join up, I highly recommend you do so. There are community races every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is what you're watching now. So, you know, there's always stuff to watch, always stuff to do. There's Seeds of the Week, there's new challenges of the week. There's some bingo stuff going on, lots of interesting stuff over on the Discord. Please do check it out. We have one Atma kill from Fals. Fraggle still struggling to get that damage in. As we continue to see the ending over there on Zelfer's screen. I think this might be the longest I've seen someone's stream go into the ending. They tend to just end them. But, you know, if you haven't seen the ending of the game, why not now?
Well, I hope we're playing the soundtrack for the ending, Mr. Entity, because it is one of Nobuo's finest works.
We are not, unfortunately, because I was expecting Zelfer to drop stream, as most people wind up doing. But it is a very good piece of composition, much like most of the other stuff in this game. Some of Nobuo Uematsu's best work.
It absolutely is.
Yep. And Fraggle still just struggling with that Atma.
Certainly is.
As Fals moves on to
button number 2. So just one more battle for Fals, and we know that it was an easy Ultros battle for the last spot, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not difficult. That Ultima has gotten him through. Much like we saw with Zelfer overcoming Boo, or overtaking Boo, we're seeing the same thing happen with Fraggle and Fals. Just one person can't put out as much damage as the other.
And damage sometimes can be the deciding factor in these races, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not the deciding factor, it usually comes down to animation time. But Fraggle forced to rely on both a slow and low damaging meteor for damage here against Atma. That's not going to do him any favors in terms of, at this point, catching up to Fals, who is making mincemeat out of these Kefka Tower bosses.
Well, he is the other person that found Ultima.
Well, and on top of that, one of the secret benefits of maybe finding more dead checks is that your characters end up much higher leveled. So we've got a pretty high leveled Sabin here fighting against Ultros. That Confuse could be dangerous if it happens to land while he's charging up for an Ultima, because that would be a wipe for Fals here. Yeah. But
interestingly,
so far,
Fals had Realm in this fight.
Yeah, and this is Ultros 3. Sketch would be an instant win.
I'm not sure if he walked in with a dead realm, but Sketch would have been an instant win had he realized which Ultros it was and had Realm been alive. But he gets through it anyway with his many Ultimas.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Entity, Sketch does have a mischance, and it largely is determined between the level discrepancy between Realm and the enemy. So if it was a baby Realm, and in this case a max level 34 Ultros, the chances of landing Sketch would be pretty slim, even though it would be a one-hit kill. That said, Ultros is done. So Fowls has defeated all of his bosses, and after probably healing up here, reorganizing the inventory, checking equipment, he's going to be fighting Final Kefka.
Yep, he's pretty much set to move on, and with that Ultima, he should be making short work of the tiered Kefka fight.
Certainly should be, Mr. Entity. Of course, the one concern is, like we raised about Zelfer about 20 minutes ago, is that one of the concerns is you want to make sure that you take those parts out in a certain order so you can avoid some of the nastier counters. But yeah, for Dark Fowls, Celes jumps down the hole, steps on the button, so it's going to be a final Kefka battle for Dark Fowls in a matter of about 25 seconds.
Yeah, and if anybody from the community or just watching the stream is interested, I will be hosting a post-stream cool-down Jackbox night with the community over on my channel, Mr. Entity, if you feel like checking that out. It's gonna be good times, just gonna hang out with the racers and stuff and make some jokes together.
Absolutely, Mr. Entity, and one more important thing for all of our runners is to, or all of our viewers, is to make sure that you're following all of these runners
on Twitch here, and we're gonna put those links up for you in just a moment.
I can't. Yeah, you can. Well, apparently I can.
You most certainly can, Mr. Entity.
I thought streaming to another channel I would, but it's popped out chat. Never mind. Just a technical thing. It does not matter. Good thing we're discussing it on stream. As Fowls moves into his final Kefka fight, I will just quickly put up a link to my own Twitch since I will be doing the community hang over there afterwards.
We are going to wait for everyone in this race to finish first.
We will be waiting for everyone, yes, of course.
So it's probably about 40 minutes away, I would say. I don't think it's going to take that long for Fraggle or Fowls to finish, but we are going to want to invite them to come gab with us for a couple of minutes before we
will do the
tonight.
traditional final interviews to whoever, or with whoever feels like doing that with us. It's always nice to get a little bit of a feel for what they were thinking. And I'd really like to tell Fowls... Well, I'd like to tell Fowls, you know, that he did real well at the start, then had a real rough ending, but still is managing to overtake Fraggle, who I really want to discuss this fight with. He's been sitting on it for like 10 minutes.
He certainly has, Mr. Entity, and as far as Fowls goes, for the longest time, and it seems like we're repeating ourselves from last time that we were hosting these races, where Fowls was ahead in terms of checks.
Yeah, he was way ahead.
But
both
then
times
ran
in
into
comment.
a bout of bad luck, just finding a lot of empty checks or superfluous characters, as was the case tonight. So,
The Atma finally goes down.
Atma down for Fraggle.
And it only took him like 10 minutes of just really solid utility use of spells, frankly.
Yeah, and you can now see on Fowls' side why I don't like dice. Those were 4 pathetic rolls for the level that he's at there.
And it's not a quick animation.
It certainly
and when you
is
have
not.
access to a Valiant Knife, for example, maybe use that instead. That's consistent damage.
Well, even if you're not getting the bonus for missing hit points from the Valiant Knife, Mr. Entity, the Valiant Knife itself ignores enemy defense. So, although its battle power is not as high as a lot of those endgame weapons, it is consistently going to outperform them because every enemy in this game does actually have a defense stat.
Exactly. More shurikens being thrown around on Fraggle's screen. Dark Fowls up into tier 2.
Well, Trash is going to toss a Meteo at Ultros, and unfortunately it misses. Rav going to throw a Flame Saber. That's a really good choice. That Flame Saber is going to do more damage than the Shuriken naturally, and also hits the weakness, so this damage is going to be doubled. Really heavy hit there.
We'll just have to see if Trash can stop living up to his name, and that's a decent...
Well, Trash does land that Meteo. It's not particularly powerful because Trash is a lower level. Rav's Fire 3 hitting for a solid 5,500 damage. So Ultros on the out and out for Fraggle here.
Oh, he had a Fire 3 laying around in his inventory.
He certainly did, Mr. Entity, and there goes
he doesn't
Ultros
even get
3
to
for
cast
Fraggle.
it.
So, well, he was able to cast it once. He simply queued it up again. So Fraggle's going to be starting the final Kefka fight very shortly. Fowl's basically 2 entire forms ahead at this point.
He does have a Stone Celeste, though. It's too many drugs.
Just a few too many, but there comes the remedy, so she's going to be fine. She's going to be able to continue to unload her double Ultimas. As Shadow casts Ultima, and Sabin casts Ultima, and Celes casts 2 Ultimas. It's going to be a lot of damage. The unfortunate part about taking all these massive damage attacks, multi-target, is that it's possible that Fowls might have to deal with both the magic part's final potential attack of a quarter, followed by 10 hits. That could be devastating, folks. We're just going to have to see what happens here.
Lots of Ultimas, lots of damage. Not necessarily always the best move.
Well, here comes Celes' second Ultima.
Oh, it's me and you again.
It certainly is, Mr. Entity. I believe, as expected, we are carrying Fraggle through this seed. He was thinking about giving me an Excalibur, but elected to keep the Tiger Fangs, and I appreciate that. I certainly hope he has Ravlin throw that Excalibur later on. Gem Box on Setzer for a Fraggle. 10 hits unloading now against Dark Fowls.
Yeah, Celeste down to 13.
Celes with 13 hit points hangs on. Tosses an X potion with Setzer, and this should be fine. Only 1 target left.
He'll be good. An Ultima, maybe 1 more hit after that, and that'll be this form done.
It certainly will.
As Fraggle moves into the final Kefka fight.
Well, the magic portion moving immediately into double D-spell, so this should do it for magic, and we should be on to tier number 3, and there we go. Timely X potion from Dark Fowls saves his best character. Looking really good for Fowls right now, I have to say, Mr. Entity.
Yeah, not much to worry about here as long as he has some way to deal with calmness, which I believe he does. So, Rav, Jack, Mr. E, Setzer, and Trash move on to fight Kefka.
Well, let's be honest. It's going to be me and you that are going to do the vast majority of the work here against Final Kefka for Fraggle.
Just like in real life.
As Rav elects to throw a meager shuriken.
I feel real bad for Gembox Setzer. His only decent spell is Meteor. And decent is a stretch in that case.
It certainly is. Meteor actually has less spell power than your basic level 2 spells.
It does ignore magic defense, but
That
it's
is the
not
one thing
very
it has
strong,
going for it.
and it takes a long time to cast.
It takes about 5 seconds. It's not the longest spell, but when you factor in how long it takes to cast and the lackluster damage that it does when you're casting a spell called Meteor in a Final Fantasy game, it's certainly underwhelming.
Yeah, you expect it to kill all the old men. Not do mediocre damage.
Exactly. It should at very least one-shot a Golbez or put a Sephiroth on notice. As you can see, folks, just from comparison, my Fire Dance was much more potent than Setzer's Meteor. Calmness, giving Dark Fowls the business. But luckily for him, keeping his best character, Celes, alive, Celes with those double ultimas can do 20,000 a turn against Final Kefka. As long as Dark Fowls doesn't provoke counterattacks, he's certainly got third place for our restreamers in the bag.
Yep. But you can see, as Jack said, that Fire Dance kind of putting the Meteor to shame. Setzer probably needs to go back to meteorologist school.
He certainly does, Mr. Entity.
Not going to get a job as a weatherman at this point.
Well, and on top of that, the Fire Dance has that elemental property. You can see it doing double damage to the head, almost 4k. And on a Blitz command, 4k to one target when you hit in the whole field, that's pretty nice, really.
It is pretty good.
I mean,
Blitz is nice for like the first half of the game, and then it severely tails off unless you get a hold of Bum Rush, which is not available to people in this particular flag set unless you already have all the other blitzes.
And as powerful as Bum Rush is, you can't target it, which can be a detriment in this final battle, because you don't want to defeat that head part last on this first tier. Its Quake Spell is a game over machine.
Oh, we're seeing the return of Dumpst over on Fowls' screen.
We certainly are, Mr. Entity. Now, the real question is, can Dumpst save... Oh, wow, that was
6K straight to the face.
That's the power of Havoc Wing, folks. It's the most devastating physical attack in the entire game.
And that's why you gotta watch out for those Kefka counters and stuff, because anytime that's a thing that can happen to you, you want to avoid it. It's best to wait for the charge up to Goner.
It certainly is, Mr. Entity. You can get away with it to an extent earlier in the fight, where his counters are single target, but as he approaches near death, he'll counter with a full party Ultima, and that's going to do about 5,000 to your whole team. That's a game over in the making, unless you are leveled in the 60s or possibly 70s.
Which is not really going to happen in this rando with general settings we use as standard. The other thing, though, is you can tell when Kefka's going to do it, because he is not scaled, so we know his health.
Yeah.
At about 30k, he's going to start countering with rough stuff, and at about 60k, he's going to start throwing ultimas around.
Exactly right you are, and his starting hit points, I believe, is the maximum hexadecimal value of 65,535.
I remember Reboot.
That was a great show.
And then they made like... this is not important.
Megabyte was the best character. Tony J, legendary. Well, Dark Fowls survives the Goner without too much difficulty. Goner, despite being a very powerful attack, is actually susceptible to your character's magic defense and shell status. Revenger is basically a Dispel Gut. It'll take off all the nice things on your whole party, which Fowls didn't have, so who cares? Fowls, however, is going to play for the win here, and there it is. Fowls is going to take third place tonight.
Fowls is done at 222 something.
Give me one.
222.22.
Yeah, let's go with that. That sounds fun.
Well, that's his time, so it better be.
Yeah. Well, I said third place, but honestly, it's second place. Boo threw in the forfeit after getting the business from Kefka.
Yep. Forfeit's always last place. And it goes to show you, just because you're having a rough time and you lost to Kefka, it doesn't always mean that you're gonna, actually come behind other people you might be racing against on the stream. It's, in my opinion, always best to just try again.
Absolutely right you are, Mr. Entity.
Well,
and I
I will-
believe we're going to have Dark Fowls join us for an interview in just a
I
moment
will
here.
pull him into the room here. Hello, Fowls. How's it going? Oh, he ran away. We'll see if he comes back, but in the meantime, we will just watch Fraggle as he continues to pummel this boss.
Sorry about that. Discord is being Discord. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hi, Fowls. Good job there on the finish. Of the restreamers, you came second because Boo forfeited.
Yeah, I just hit so many dead checks after my last Esper.
Yeah,
like
you were-
everything I tried was just junk.
You were in the lead at the start, and then you just kept finding dead check, dead check, dead check, dead check. And it was real rough to watch. But you did overtake Fraggle since he spent 10 minutes throwing meteos at Atma. And you just overtook him at that point to get second place, so good job on that.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I felt good to start, and then I got to like the hour 15ish, hour and a half, and like every single thing I'm checking is just nothing. It's just crappy item after crappy item.
Yeah,
Very disappointing to see there. You were very much on PB pace for yourself, but then you just kept finding characters or items when all you needed was one Esper. It took you so long to get that last one. It was, as Mr. Entity said, painful to watch. One question I do have for you there. Whenever you fired off that last double Ultima command from Celes against Kefka, were you absolutely certain that that was going to be the final blow, or were you potentially worried about a possible Ultima counterattack and therefore party wipe?
I knew I had 2 left, and I knew that it was dangerous to the first one, and I was hoping to go through, because I knew I had enough. After the second one, I knew it was dead, but yeah, after the first one, I was kind of worried, but it was kind of, I didn't want to risk another gunner.
Well,
Absolutely.
you took him out. Jack and I were saying that you doing real well at the start and then falling off in the middle. It's exactly the same thing that happened the last time we commentated. We both thought you were going to win for a while, and then you just kept finding terrible things. So it's been hard to watch both times.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately, Sharendo.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. But, yeah. You finished it out, so I think... Were you one of the ones that suplexed the train?
Yes, I was.
Oh, well then
He
you
certainly
win.
was.
You win. You get you get all the train points, and those are the most important points.
Yes, you always have to go for the meme.
Yeah, I think it was only you and Fraggle that finished or that managed to suplex it. So no matter what place anyone comes in, you two are technically at the top.
Well, to be fair, Mr. Entity, Zelfer suplexed the train as well.
Did he?
Yes,
Well, then he's a double winner.
exactly.
Yeah, that was something interesting too, Fowls. We both, like, you overtook Fraggle in the tower, and Zelfer overtook Boo in the tower. So we saw a complete switch up twice in who was in the lead.
Yeah, just the kind of thing where, like I said, I was feeling good, and then the halfway point hit. I'm like, well, I need a couple more things. Let's go here. This is usually a good check that has decent items, and usually it has an Esper. No, that's an Atma weapon. Then, like Magic Factory, 3 items and 1 Esper. Kidding me?
Absolutely, and in your case, Fowls, it was a couple of things that allowed you to outmuscle Fraggle for the number 2 finish here. It was both your numerical level advantage, as well as you were one of the only 2 players on our restream that discovered the Esper that had that ultimate ×1, because you were also one of the only players that went down the Locke and Edgar route.
Yeah, well, the reason I was doing bosses was I got Celeste late, and I know I needed levels 4. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do a couple boss checks, because that made more sense. I could have gone to the auction house and gotten one there, but then I would have had a party of mid-30 characters, which wouldn't have done it for me.
Another thing too that I wanted to ask you about while we still got you, as you mentioned, you did get Selly's late, but you elected to put her in your party, and ultimately she ended up being your strongest character with that gem box in hand. Was there any rationale behind that decision, or was it just like gut feeling? What do you say?
I can control her. I can control Gal, basically.
That's fair enough. I actually had another question for you. Considering for a long time you only needed one more Esper, did you never consider going to the auction house? Like, I know a lot of racers tend to hate it, but at that point, I would tend to lean towards it.
Yeah, I just actually answered that like 2 minutes ago, buddy. I needed one more Esper, but my Celeste was kind of low. So I was trying to do boss checks to get some levels.
So, same kind of answer.
If I got into the auction house, I wouldn't have had a party of mid-30 characters, which wouldn't have done it for me.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Well, Dark Fowls, congratulations on second place tonight. As I understand, I believe at least yourself is going to be joining us for some Jackbox fun here once our broadcast is finished up. Congratulations again. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, just thank you guys for the commentary. I hope it was at least somewhat fun to watch. And thank you to Vamp for the tracking. And have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching.
All right, thanks for racing. I hope you have a good one. Okay, so one racer remaining on stream. We will see Fraggle do tier 3 here. And I will throw a couple links in the Discord again. I mean, in the Twitch chat again. Please follow our streamers.
Follow our runners. Our streamers. No one needs to follow us. Follow the runners, everyone, please.
And here is a link for the randomizer itself. And if anybody feels like joining the community afterwards, for a bit of Jackbox and hanging out with the racers and stuff, this is my channel where I will be hosting it.
We'll be probably, at this point, based on where Fraggle is, we'll be starting on the hour, depending on your time zone. We're going to say 10 Eastern because no one deals in our time zone.
Yeah, if we ever say Atlantic time, nobody knows what we're talking about.
Exactly right you are, Mr. Entity. A lot of people think that's like Newfie time with that whole half-hour thing.
Oh, the Newfoundland time has got to be the worst thing in the world. It's Atlantic time, but even stupider.
Exactly. Although, I have to say, Mr. Entity, Newfoundland is a very fun place to spend a few days. Especially on that there George Street. All the bars on that street are open until like 6 in the morning. You can just go in and have all the beers and drinks in the world.
Well, my grandfather's from Newfoundland. I have spent a fair amount of time there.
Well, yeah, but no one cares. I mean, I do, but I care, but no one cares. Let's be honest.
Yeah, nobody cares about your bar story either.
Yeah.
What people do care about is Fraggle and the randomizer and Atma, our patron and deity, who, again, often gets overlooked when we're thanking people during these commentaries. But, thanks to all the racers, thanks to Atma, and thanks to Vamp for doing the tracking. And I guess Jack is also here.
You don't need to follow me. I'm just some asshole.
Yeah. In fact, unfollow him.
Exactly. Well, train coming for Fraggle here. That's going to put a little monkey wrench in the plans here. Blind and Darkness. Not going to affect Mr. Entity the Jumper, and not going to affect Jack the Blitzer. Here comes the calmness. Rav!
Oh,
taking a dive.
But
gets revived. Life 3.
Level 3.
So here we go. A full party of Ravlin, Jackamus, Mr. Entity, and Setzer gonna fight Kefka on Fraggle's side here to finish out our stream tonight.
Yeah, and we've got enough time that afterwards we might pull him in here for a couple minutes for an interview.
We certainly will attempt to do so. It's only the right thing to do.
Yeah, and
we want to hear his delicious accent, Mr. Entity, I have to say.
Oh, I see your own song here. That's real nice. We'll pour it up on the fridge.
This is really cute. You're doing well, young man. You're doing well.
You're skewing into Irish. And you can't do that on stream because it involves swearing all the time.
No, it doesn't. You just need to get some growth.
I'm pretty sure they don't roll their R's in Ireland.
It's useful, blank, in stuff.
Yeah, again, it requires swearing.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah, but Fraggle putting out a decent chunk of damage here. Not sure why he's relying on those shurikens
Yeah,
so
still
much.
throwing those shurikens.
This is very much the time where you start throwing everything in your inventory.
It was the time to do that 4 fights ago, Mr. Entity, but there it is. He is casting Quick with Setzer, the one unnamed person of his party.
He has a name, it's just the wrong name.
It certainly is. Quick and then a Cure 2.
Not a
and-
lot of magic power on
There
Setzer
we
either.
go. Fraggle doing it right now, electing to have Shadow throw that Excalibur, but it's going to be some Setzer shenanigans. He's going to cast Life 3 on myself and Setzer's self. And once this animation is done, Rav is going to throw that Excalibur to complete the meme that we have not seen from any of our other racers tonight.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Shadow and very little throwing of anything that wasn't a shuriken.
There's an Excalibur throw, very nice
And
damage.
that's why you aim for those, just whatever weapons are sitting around your inventory.
Yeah.
Like, I do go out of my way to buy shuriken, but that's only because sometimes seeds don't give you all the weapons in the world. Sometimes you don't have stuff to throw by the end.
It's good to have a fallback option, you are right, but there's usually better things to throw. In this case, that Maneater would be a very enticing thing to throw.
Yes. Something a lot of people don't realize, Maneater's a very reasonable weapon to use against Final Kefka because he is technically a man.
Well-
like all men, he has 2 wings and is like 16 times the size of everyone else and has a feather. Yeah.
Well, Fraggle electing to just equip the Maneater and swing it with Shadow, not a terrible decision, but it's only going to do a couple thousand damage there.
I think he's realizing that that was maybe not the correct choice. Maybe just
Yeah.
holding it in reserve.
Well,
But getting a hyperdrive counter, not paying
Yeah.
enough attention to the healths.
He threw that hardened dagger for a solid 3,500. Oh, Setzer getting the business.
There goes his
However-
utility healer.
However, Sabin is chanting that quick spell. Mr. Entity, gonna take a jump. So it is down to myself and Mr. Entity versus Kefka.
Not a good time to throw that.
Well, as it happens, I'm a great and generous sort, and I wanted Setzer to live.
But he has the wrong name.
I know he does, but I don't want people to die.
But if he dies, we can write whatever we want on his gravestone.
We certainly
We
could.
can correct the problem.
Well, Rav is being resurrected as well with a Phoenix down. At
Yeah.
least Rav has Force Gear on in that auto shell. It's doubtful that Rav will survive, but it's not impossible depending on how high his magic defense stat is, and he's gone. Mr. Entity lands for a double jump for 7,000 damage, no counter from Kefka.
Oh,
I unleash an Aura Bolt, solid 3,500, no
still
counter
no
again.
counter, but here comes a train.
Train not going to make any difference. I am already both blinded and silenced.
And you can't suplex.
That Havoc Wing, however, is going to send me back to nap time. However, Life 3 activated. Triple jump from Mr. Entity on Kefka for over 10,000 damage.
And we've got a Krakow.
And that's the Krakow! Fraggle has defeated Kefka. So our race is over. Fraggle is going to take 3rd place amongst our
Yeah,
restreamers.
we're gonna pull him in
We're
here.
going to pull him in here, and we're going to talk to him for a few minutes
Not
before...
sure why, but it seems like his dun didn't take there.
It's fine. We'll figure out the details.
Okay, so we will try to pull Fraggle into a room here. Hello, Fraggle. How's it going?
It's going okay. Is this coming through?
Yeah, you're good. You are good. I just need to remove your Beavis and Butthead from the. Sorry, I thought that was a separate screen because I wasn't looking at it properly.
You said butt.
Yes, I did. So last of the 4 people on stream to finish, unfortunately, Fraggle, but Boo did forfeit, so you beat him. How do you feel about how things went for you?
It was great until the tower, and then everything kind of went to hell.
Yeah, the tower had most of the terrible bosses in it. It had Atma, and it was kind of amusing watching you just sit there and throw meteors at him for like 10 minutes. But I can't imagine it felt good on your end.
I can't imagine it either, Mr. Entity. Yeah, Fraggle, that Atma fight was a little on the brutal side when you were relying on just that Meteo spell. But I guess that's what can happen whenever you divvy up your 4 best members. If you send one of your weaker characters solo, they could run into a nasty boss like that. It was good on you to finish the fight, but what were you thinking with how long that battle took to win?
It was a case of, I'm on the restream, it's not the final fight, I cannot forfeit this, I'm still in with a chance of getting somewhere, but no flare. If I have flare, that would have probably been 5 minutes quicker.
That is one of the few situations where flare would actually save you time, despite its long animation, because Meteor has a really low spell power, to be completely honest there. And they both function the same way, where they ignore magic defense. So yeah, you're right. If you had flare, that would have saved you quite a bit of time there.
You gotta make soup. Ranzo's gonna Ranzo.
Yeah, indeed.
Truer words have never been spoken, sir.
Yeah, unfortunately that Atma fight did pretty much cost you second place, because Fowls came up on you, and he was one of the 2 people on the stream that actually found an Esper with Ultima, and both of them used it to overtake the people who were in the lead before them.
I guess it was just different routes. I mean,
it certainly was. This seed was really open in terms of characters. Both Dark Fowls and Zelfer were on a route where they found Edgar and ultimately Locke. And Locke led you to the Esper that taught you Ultima at ×1. I know you found Edgar late and went through his checks, and you were ultimately disappointed because at that point you were looking for Espers, not characters.
I'm just happy, at least in my route, and getting to the tower, because I think that was probably the quickest I've ever made it into the tower. But that first fight, test the Red Dragon, and it kind of wiped the floor with me. It was like, nope, gotta rethink this through.
Oh yeah, I saw you wipe to that dragon, and that must have not felt great, having to leave the tower and then go prepare some more.
It's like a gatekeeper. If the dragon was going to give me trouble, I knew the rest of the tower probably would, but Atma, just,
Yeah, Atma and the Magimaster fight were problems for a bunch of the racers. It was basically the 2 that found Ultima that just blitzed past them and overtook the 2 who were previously in the lead. So, I feel bad for you there.
It happens. At least this time you got names as well.
Yeah, thank you for naming me. Also for naming Gao Trash, which is his proper name.
When you see rename cards on sale, you've got to use them.
Well, again, massive style points, just like with the train.
Oh, yeah. I mean, last time I was commenting one of these, you also gave me Sabin, and hey, I won you that entire race basically. So I guess I'm Sabin forever now, and that's pretty cool. Like, Fraggle Man, you always put on a show. You're a pleasure to watch at this. I just hope that in the future you have a little bit better luck here, man.
If my luck's terrible and it entertains people, I can take that. You win some, you lose some, and then you get Atma.
One last question for you before we finish up here, Fraggle. You down for the community games here, or is it a little too late for you?
It's a bit too late. It's like 2:45 here, so by the time I come down from the race, I need to try and get to sleep before working 6 hours. So
I completely understand. Well, Fraggle, thank you very much for being one of our featured runners tonight.
Yeah, I'm always happy to see you in the races. I know it's late for you, so it's great to see you, push back your bedtime like that, just to hang out with the community and have a good time racing.
It's a cool community. I mean, that's anyone who's in chat now who hasn't joined, just join up. This isn't my preferred SNES era Final Fantasy, but it's such a great round-out. It's really beginner friendly, and there's so many ways to do it. People here are great help, like Jack and Mystery have helped me out quite a lot with just talking to them, watching them in the streams, them coming into me stream and giving me pointers. Everyone's willing to help, so come on, join the fun. You could get a seed like that and get it at me.
And that's why everyone should join. So that we can all fight Atma for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
I guess just any final thoughts other than that?
No, it was, like I say, apart from the Atma problem, I thought it was quite a good seed. It was really open, it flowed really well. I just routed it the wrong way with Espers, I suppose.
Everyone was going in a completely different direction. It's everyone had a completely different route. There were so many characters that there were so many checks that everyone was just everywhere. It was really neat to watch.
It absolutely was, Mr. Entity. It was a great time. I'm happy that I got to share the comms seat with this one kid that I knew since I was 4 years old. And in the words of our generation and our humanity, and everyone else,
please don't say go Bruins.
Let's go Bruins!
Stop doing that. More appropriate to the end. I just want to thank all the racers again. I want to thank Vamp for helping out with the tracking. Rafalos helped us out with the tech issue before. That was also helpful. And again, many thanks to Atma for making this, for continuing to improve it. And thanks to the community for hanging out. If you want to continue to hang out, we'll be doing a community hang afterwards on my stream. And otherwise, I just hope to see more of you in the Discord, in the races, in the future.
His name is Mr. Entity. My name is Jackamus. Don't follow us. Follow the runners. Fraggle497, Zelfer85, Dark_Fouls_, and Boo the Runner. Follow those humans. You folks have yourselves a great night.
And remember to unfollow Jack.
Exactly.
Have a good one. We'll see you all next week for the next one. Hope you all had a good time, and we'll see you around.